A nameless underling was sent to the area where the Mount Hua sect operates to carry out a reconnaissance mission. But he was instantly killed in one move by a top master of the Mount Hua sect. On the verge of death, a mysterious pop-up window with a restart option suddenly appeared before his eyes. When he woke up again, he was back in the communal dormitory where he used to live. Just as he was wondering why he was here instead of the underworld, suddenly a man with shoulder-length hair walked in with a bald man. This was followed by a powerful, unannounced blow. Xue Hui was sent flying over 10 meters by this sudden punch. The intense pain from his abdomen made him tremble all over. But what shocked him even more was the familiarity of the scene. This was clearly something he had experienced before. Even every harsh word uttered by the bald man was surprisingly identical. Before he could come to his senses, the long-haired man was already in front of him. He was Qi Ming, the leader of the Black Moon Squad, with over 100 men under his command, and his squad was a direct unit of the Supreme Emperor Pavilion. Xue Hui, on the other hand, was merely a squad captain with only 5 men under him. Qi Ming looked down on him with a disdainful expression that you've got some nerve. The master of the Supreme Emperor Pavilion wants to see you. After saying this, he turned to leave. But he suddenly turned back, stroking his hair like a woman. Oh, right, a piece of advice for you. You're very lucky. That subtle tone really got to Xue Hui. Watching the two of them walk away, Xue Hui cursed the damn bald man in his heart. His rank is lower than mine, yet he picks on me just because Qi Ming is here. Don't let me get the chance, or I'll definitely destroy you. But what puzzled Xue Hui was the moment the three of them passed each other. 2 health bar symbols suddenly appeared above the heads of the bald man and Qi Ming. Although Xue Hui didn't understand what they meant yet, he figured it must be closely related to his experience. The scene changes. Xue Hui soon arrived outside the office of the Supreme Emperor Pavilion. Flying Guest Group Squad Captain Xue Hui requests a meeting. After receiving permission from inside, he carefully walked in. The old man in red before him was the master of the Supreme Emperor Pavilion. This was the Red Demon Courtyard, one of the core strongholds of the demonic cult. Under its banner were 5 pavilion masters, each highly skilled in martial arts. And the master of the Supreme Emperor Pavilion, Sima Gue, had mastered the fire essence demonic art. It was said that even a tiny bit of its heat was enough to turn a person to bones. At the same time, his volatile temper was well known. So, the slightest misstep in his presence could lead to immediate death. The Supreme Emperor Pavilion Master looked at Xue Hui before him with a kind face. Oh, you want to be the scholar of the Heavenly Sun official? I see you're eager to learn demonic arts, so I've made special arrangements for you. At the mention of Heavenly Sun official, Xue Hui's eyes lit up. It was the library that housed tens of thousands of secret manuals. But before he could get happy, the Supreme Emperor Pavilion Master added, on one condition. You must take on a corresponding mission. As soon as he said this, Xue Hui's body trembled in fear. According to his previous memory, the Pavilion Master would next send him to the area where the Mount Hua sect operates for a reconnaissance mission. This was no different from being cannon fodder. He had to find an excuse to avoid this mission, or he wouldn't escape the fate of being killed. But before he could refuse, his body froze in place, unable to move. The 2 old men were also motionless like statues, as if time had stopped. Seeing this, Xue Hui was finally certain. After being killed, he had returned to the past. At the same time, a system panel appeared before his eyes, with a countdown timer on it, as if urging him to make a choice. The selection arrow moved according to his line of sight. If he chose to accept the mission from Sima Gue, Xue Hui would surely die without a burial place. But he couldn't bring himself to cruelly sever his own right arm. So his gaze finally landed on the second line. I want to take on a different mission. At this moment, the countdown on the panel reached 0. Accompanied by a dazzling white light, the dim surroundings brightened. Then, he uncontrollably spoke those words that I want to take on a different mission. The 2 old men stared intently at the nobody before them. It was as if time had never stopped. As for Xue Hui, he was so scared he immediately covered his mouth, surprised at how he had the guts to say such suicidal nonsense. The Supreme Emperor Pavilion Master shot up from his seat. An intense killing intent made it impossible for Xue Hui to breathe, as if a python had bitten his neck. But after a brief silence, the Supreme Emperor Pavilion Master suddenly shouted, "Stop!" Only then did Xue Hui realize that a sharp, gleaming blade was already at his throat. If the pavilion master's shout had been half a second later, the sword would have likely cut off his head. Xue Hui recognized this woman. She was a retainer who protected the supreme Emperor Pavilion Master. Against trash with Xue Hui's combat power, Heimi could fight 100 at once. Her usual main task was to squat on the office ceiling. If anyone dared to defy the Supreme Emperor Pavilion Master's orders, she would leap down from the ceiling and execute them. After Hei Mi retreated to the side, the Pavilion Master also sat back down. Go on. What's your reason for not taking the mission? I'll decide whether to spare your life after you've spoken. A frightened Xue Hui quickly bowed his head to admit his mistake. Please don't misunderstand. I heard that the Mount Hua sect is gathering near the Hunan border recently, and you, sir, have always wanted to eliminate that old bunch from the Mount Hua sect. So I hope to seize this opportunity to relieve your worries, Pavilion Master. You just need to tell us the time our cult's masters will arrive as reinforcements. Our flying guest group is ready to go and investigate at any time. The Pavilion Master stroked his beard and grinned. What a coincidence. The mission I was going to give you is exactly this. As you said, the Vice Cult Master plans to personally go there to fight. Before that, we need to scout the terrain. After a detailed observation, you just need to report the intelligence to your superior. The reason Xue Hui said this was because he realized he couldn't escape this strange cycle no matter what. Rather than die now, it was better to die in a few days. Perhaps he could find a glimmer of hope. So he scrambled to his feet and walked towards the door. Unexpectedly, the moment he passed Heimi, the system pop-up appeared again. He casually glanced back. The health bar symbol above Heimi's head was actually a +4. 2 more than Qi Ming of the Black Moon Squad. Although Xue Hui still didn't know what this meant, it was definitely closely related to his system. Afterwards, having escaped death, he came to the lakeside to clear his head. This series of strange events had put him in a foul mood. He inadvertently saw his own reflection. It turned out there was also a strange symbol above his own head. On it was written "Last Chance." He didn't understand what it meant. Right now, he just wanted to escape this place. But he practiced the martial arts of the demonic cult. This evil aura could not be concealed no matter what, because righteous martial artists who reached a certain level could easily sense this evil aura. Even if he escaped to the Central Plains, it would still be difficult to survive. Just then, a taunt came from across the way. It was the bald Zhe Shan, who had bullied him during the day. He had heard that Xue Hui took a cannon fodder mission and couldn't help but laugh out loud. Seeing the bald man's smirking face, Xue Hui's anger flared up. Suddenly, looking at the strange symbol above Zhe Shan's head, Xue Hui had a bold idea. He immediately rushed forward and quickly drew his sword. In an instant, the blade struck like a dragon. The unprepared bald man was killed in a single move. At the same time, the symbol on his head also disappeared. This crazy act made Xue Hui understand that there was no turning back now. He then took a boat to the center of the lake. He tied the bald man to a rock and threw them into the lake. After killing the bald man, his body didn't change at first. It wasn't until he saw his reflection in the water that he was surprised to find that the last chance above his head had suddenly become 2 chances. The scene changes. Soon, it was the day of the mission. Xue Hui led his team members to the meeting point. Just then, a woman with a blank expression walked over. There are people from the Mount Hua sect nearby, so don't act rashly. Ascertain the enemy's numbers and the surrounding terrain, then retreat immediately. Xue Hui bowed politely and accepted the order. This was Xue Hui's direct superior, Tai Xiuzhen, the leader in charge of the 3 squads of the flying guest group. But this time, she wasn't going herself. In the past, being inexperienced, he didn't notice anything different. But now it seemed truly strange. Either she received an order from Sima Guwei, or they're in it together. Thinking of this, Xue Hui suddenly ordered his men to go right. The team members looked at each other, asking, "Captain, shouldn't we be going left?" Xue Hui ignored them and sprinted straight to the right. The team members didn't dare to say more and could only follow their captain, running wildly. Because Xue Hui clearly remembered that in his previous life, they were immediately ambushed by the Mount Hua sect upon reaching the designated location. So this time, he planned to do the opposite, sprinting all the way towards the Central Plains, determined to escape this checkmate. At this moment, the words 2 chances had completely occupied his mind. He knew his hopes in this life were slim, so he had to gather more clues for a glimmer of hope in the next life. Suddenly, the group stopped in their tracks. A wooden house had appeared on their escape route. It was a square building with windows on all sides, likely a watchtower. If Xue Hui ignored the watchtower and went straight past it, it would surely arouse his team members' suspicions. So he signaled for everyone to wait in place. If there was nothing unusual, they would continue. Xue Hui then lowered his body and slowly approached. With every step, tension spread through his entire body. He hoped not to run into a top master, because he didn't want to be killed so quickly. Lost in various thoughts, he had unknowingly crept up to the window. He then mustered his courage and looked inside, finally letting out a long sigh of relief. A moment later, his teammates came to investigate the area around the wooden house one by one. They concluded that there was no one on guard here at all. At this moment, Xue Hui was once again lost in thought. He didn't know what he should do. Because he had killed the bald man, he definitely couldn't go back to the demonic cult. Was he to just escape to the Central Plains like this? Seeing their captain acting so abnormally today, the men couldn't help but start whispering among themselves. Xue Hui realized this too. Just as he was about to confess to everyone, the system panel suddenly popped up again, accompanied by a 10-second countdown. The system prompted that an enemy had appeared and he had to make a choice. Xue Hui's heart immediately started racing. There was clearly no enemy. He hadn't even detected the slightest movement. But the panel before him kept expanding. Watching the time tick away, he knew he had to make a choice quickly. He realized that if there really was an enemy, and one whose presence he couldn't sense at all, it must be a top master. Right now, he could only choose the second option. Reveal yourself and try to resolve the issue through dialogue. Accompanied by a dazzling white light, the dim environment brightened. Xue Hui then shouted into the air, "Your Excellency, there's no need to hide. Come out." As soon as he said this, his team members immediately formed a formation, ready for battle. Unexpectedly, just as they got into position, an old man with a full head of white hair descended from the sky, landing right in the center of their formation. Xue Hui recognized the man at a glance. It was the Mount Hua sect elder, Jiu Zhongming, a top master in the martial world. No one could survive an encounter with him. Thus, he was listed by the demonic cult as a highest level threat. Xue Hui's heart felt like dead ashes. From the moment he reached the meeting point, he had been running non-stop in the opposite direction. He was already far from the mission area. Yet, Jiu Zhongming of the Mount Hua sect had come here. It was simply baffling. Jiu Zhongming also looked puzzled. "How did you know I was here? Since you've trespassed into my patrol area, you can all stay. After all, you are all remnants of the demonic cult. Your deaths are not to be mourned." Saying this, he drew his precious sword. Xue Hui and his team members also hastily drew their swords. But how could they be a match for Jiu Zhongming? Accompanied by several dazzling red flashes, the team members fell one after another. Even Xue Hui himself didn't know when the sharp blade had pierced his chest. Jiu Zhongming came before Xue Hui with a mocking expression, pathetically weak. "If the captain is this stupid, there's no need to mention the others." With a dazed look, Xue Hui suddenly raised his head. "You already knew we were coming, didn't you? Otherwise, none of this makes any sense." A trace of annoyance flashed in Jiu Zhongming's eyes. He grabbed Xue Hui's hair and stared at him fiercely. "How did you know, you idiot?" Xue Hui gasped for breath. "I just guessed it by chance. Your pursuit speed was beyond imagination. You even knew the exact day and time of our arrival. If it wasn't an ambush, it's impossible to appear so precisely." Jiu Zhongming gave a cold smile and leaned close to Xue Hui's ear. "Since you figured it out, I'll be blunt. Think about it. One side gets to boost their performance, the other gets to eliminate an eyesore. Isn't this killing two birds with one stone? But then again, you really have some nerve, daring to defy your superior's orders. Farewell, my dear flying guest group squad captain." Accompanied by a fine red light, Xue Hui returned to that communal dormitory once again. This was the second time he had encountered this situation. Even if he wanted to escape, he couldn't. But he knew very well that this rebirth wouldn't last forever. Before dying, he had clearly seen the words "last chance." He was keenly aware that he couldn't just sit and wait. If he continued to sit here, those two guys would be back soon. So he hid in a corner and observed from the side. He suddenly discovered that the number on the bald man's head had disappeared. Could it be because I've already killed him once? It seems I can only get one chance of rebirth from each person. The above is all the content of this chapter. The following is a detailed supplement and summary of this chapter's content. First, why was the protagonist, Xue Hui, sent to a dangerous place as cannon fodder? We can see this from two conversations in the comic's plot. First, when Captain Qi Ming first met Xue Hui, he said, "You're really a reckless guy." Another instance was before Xue Hui ambushed the bald Zhe Shan. Zhe Shan mocked him, saying, "I heard you took a cannon fodder mission. Serves you right. Who told you to go rummaging through the Supreme Emperor Pavilion Master's office?" From these two conversations, we can see that Xue Hui's secret infiltration of the office to find martial arts manuals had been exposed. The Supreme Emperor Pavilion Master would not possibly keep such a person by his side. The reason he was so desperate to find the manuals was simply because he had been a target of bullying since childhood. He longed to become stronger. In order to learn demonic arts, he even joined the demonic cult at the cost of shortening his lifespan. But he only learned the basics of the demonic arts and ended up doing reconnaissance work here for several years. Feeling that he would never get ahead, Xue Hui secretly snuck into the office to search for manuals. Also, at the end of this chapter's story, from Jiu Zhongming's answer, we can see that the Supreme Emperor Pavilion Master had long been secretly colluding with Jiu Zhongming of the Mount Hua sect. Sima Gui wanted to get rid of the reckless Xue Hui, while Jiu Zhongming wanted to kill remnants of the demonic cult to enhance his prestige in the martial world. With Xue Hui's death, both sides would benefit. This is why the mission to investigate the area where the Mount Hua sect operates came to be. This is definitely a must-read wuxia power fantasy comic for December, sharing a universe with absolute sword sense and supernatural. On the verge of death, the protagonist triggers a mysterious pop-up with a restart option, returning to the past with memories of his previous life to defy fate and change his destiny. But now I only have one last chance to be reborn. If I escape from here, I will definitely be hunted by the demonic cult. Even if I'm lucky enough to escape, there's no guarantee I can survive in the Central Plains. Right now, I can only continue to fight those opponents I can neither avoid nor defeat. After a moment's hesitation, I began to act. I immediately went to the Supreme Emperor Pavilion Master's office again. This time was different from the last. I knelt and kowtowed as soon as I entered the door. And all of this began with a mysterious pop-up that appeared before my eyes. I returned to the point before I met the Supreme Emperor Pavilion Master alone, so the method must be in there somewhere. The conversation then unfolded as expected. He immediately threw out the same question as before. Oh, you want to be the scholar of the Heavenly Sun official? If I accept this proposal, he will definitely add conditions and then send me to the Hunan border to carry out a reconnaissance mission, and I will inevitably die again. After a moment's hesitation, I slammed my head hard on the ground. Absolutely not. Supreme Emperor Pavilion Master, my status is lowly. I am not worthy of going to such a noble place. The Supreme Emperor Pavilion Master was a little surprised by my reaction. Suit yourself. However, there's a mission I need to give you right now. Before he could finish, I cut in. Pavilion Master, I actually have something I want to say to you. The moment I finished speaking, the system pop-up immediately appeared. I had experienced this before. Choosing the first or second option was a dead end. So now I could only choose the third option. I'm willing to cut off my right arm. It's an inescapable fate anyway. I just want to witness this result myself. The Pavilion Master stared at me doubtfully, probably finding it absurd. Why do you want to sever your arm for no reason? I nervously hurried to answer. I have reflected on myself during this period. I once overconfidently said I wanted to learn superior martial arts, and I audaciously rummaged through your office. My crimes deserve 10,000 deaths. Let me express my loyalty to the Supreme Emperor Pavilion Master by severing my arm. The two Pavilion Masters chuckled that it seems he's even more interesting than the rumors say. He then threw a short dagger in front of me. Then get a try. I picked up the dagger without hesitation, because I knew that as long as I passed this test, I would definitely find a way out. I gritted my teeth and closed my eyes. I soon felt a chill. Unknowingly, the dagger had already pierced my shoulder. But suddenly, the Pavilion Master shouted, "Stop!" Heimi then leaped down from the ceiling and knocked the dagger out of my hand. Trembling, I placed my left hand on my right shoulder, thankful that my arm was still there, just temporarily immobile. The two Pavilion Masters in front of me, however, suddenly burst out laughing. What an interesting fellow. Since the founding of this cult, this is the first time I've seen someone like this. These words didn't make me feel humiliated or ashamed. Instead, they made me unusually calm. He then threw a wooden plaque engraved with Heavenly Son Official in front of me. Go give it a try. Didn't you say before that you wanted to be in charge of the Heavenly Son Official? I picked up the wooden plaque and bowed to accept the order. Thank you, Pavilion Master. I will definitely not forget this kindness. At this time, the Pavilion Master was still laughing heartily, shaking his head and repeatedly saying, "Good, good, good. Don't you forget, you fool." Through this incident, I finally understood. The mysterious pop-up has a total of 3 options. And among these options, the one that allows me to live, judging from the result, is the last one. From this, I could be sure of one thing. The way to live is definitely among the options. After leaving the Supreme Emperor Pavilion, I changed into a clean set of clothes and headed straight to the Heavenly Son Official to report for duty. The administrative officer at the reporting office looked at my file with a puzzled face. That you've been in the flying guest group for 8 years. You're ranked 12th in strength among the 1,000 people at the Tianxiang Institute. I didn't expect someone with such high combat power to be willing to lower themselves to such a humble place. Suddenly, he noticed something was wrong with my right arm. I vaguely said there was a small accident. The officer was a bit skeptical and was about to speak. Suddenly, he saw that the recommender sign on the file was Si Maguwei, so he didn't say any more. He then led me to the library. The books here were densely packed, at least tens of thousands at a glance. My usual job is to manage the books here. I looked around as I walked. These were all basic martial arts without any foundation and some miscellaneous books. After all, it's impossible for a place like this to have superior martial arts manuals. But I don't need such powerful martial arts. I just need a manual that can help me kill this administrative officer in front of me. Because the system showed me the life symbol above his head. As long as I kill him, I can gain a life. So how strong are his martial arts? I quietly came up behind him. I then reached my left hand into my robe. The administrative officer seemed to have noticed something. The moment he turned his head, I pulled out a dagger and stabbed it directly into his abdomen. The administrative officer pushed me away with a look of terror. Are you crazy? I ignored him and got back into a fighting stance, regretting that the stab was too shallow and didn't kill him instantly. But seeing the +1 life symbol on him, his combat power should be on the same level as Zeishan's. It seems I need to end this quickly. The longer this drags on, the more disadvantageous it is for me. But haste makes waste. While I wasn't paying attention, he suddenly held me in a tight embrace. Because I couldn't use my right arm, I couldn't break free at all. I could only watch helplessly as he raised the dagger above his head. As long as I kill someone with a life symbol above their head, I can gain another chance at rebirth. So I set my sights on the administrative officer before me. The life symbol above his head was a +1. His strength should be on the same level as the bald man I killed before. So I approach him while reaching my left hand into my robe. At the same time, I rehearsed the upcoming fight in my mind. Because my right arm was injured and I couldn't use force, if I failed to kill him in one move, I would most likely be the one to die. So right now, I don't have a 100 chance of winning. Just as he warily turned to look at me, what I pulled out from my robe was not a dagger, but a handful of silver coins. At the same time, I didn't forget to put on a smile. Officer, sir, I hope you'll take good care of me in the future. The weather is cold. You must be working hard. Please accept this small token of my appreciation. He first glanced at me with a blank expression. I thought this trick wouldn't work. Fortunately, he ended up accepting the silver coins with a chuckle. His attitude also became much better than before. It seems you're a talented person who understands the ways of the world. If there's anything you don't understand in the future, feel free to ask me. By the way, your name is Shuehui, right? I'm reminding you for your own good. There are many monsters here. If you want to live a little longer, try not to appear in front of people in the future. After saying this, he walked straight out of the library. To leave this place and to get revenge on them. I'm not even afraid of death. Why would I be afraid of some damn monsters? I only have one thought now. Which manual should I learn to defeat this administrative officer with my crippled body? So I searched while organizing the books. Suddenly, as I touched a martial arts manual, the system suddenly sent a prompt. What martial art do you want to learn? To my surprise, the system pop-up appeared again, and this time didn't stop. My heart raced. I glanced at the book's title, 3 Excellence's Original Teachings Book. Then I looked up at the system pop-up again. Among the 3 options, one was labeled Possible Martial Art. The other 2 were labeled Impossible Martial Art. The third one Scorching Extreme Demonic Art, was mastered by the Supreme Emperor Pavilion Master and was classified as a high-level demonic art of the cult. The second one, Red Hand Demonic Art, was also a famous art practiced by the former Vice Cult Master as a supplementary skill. I laughed happily. I finally found these top-tier martial arts manuals. I moved closer to examine this mysterious pop-up. But why does it say impossible? Then I'll choose the third one, the Scorching Extreme Demonic Art. My gaze shifted to the third line, and the cursor moved with it. But the pop-up prompted, this martial art cannot be learned with a paralyzed right arm. I finally understood. The options marked impossible meant they couldn't be learned right now. Then I could only choose the first option, the Plain Brightness Demonic Art. After entering the Plain Brightness Demonic Art, the system prompted again, seeing that they were all marked possible. There was no need to worry. I might as well start learning from the sword techniques. Then, the pop-up prompted again, sword technique selected, displaying image. I couldn't help but blurt out, what image? Along with the question, a translucent figure formed before my eyes. This suddenly appearing figure wasn't just simply moving. From the movements of adjusting its posture, the standing pivot points, the naturally unfolding sword paths, and even the frosty breathing technique appearing by its mouth, everything was clearly visible. This shadow was demonstrating all the moves of the Plain Brightness Demonic Art, one by one. But next, the Plain Brightness sword technique characteristics table that appeared in the pop-up left me completely confused. Although it was all incomprehensible symbols, one thing was certain. As long as I learned this Plain Brightness Demonic Art, I could take down the administrative officer, Do Hong, right here and increase my chances of rebirth. A month passed just like that. My left-handed sword technique had become superb. Then, practicing fist techniques and footwork was surprisingly easy. But no matter how I practiced, I couldn't master the Debo sword. Even when looking at the reference text, although I could tell it meant the left hand, I just couldn't understand the meaning of the direction. But this was already very good for me. I never expected that, by a stroke of luck, I would obtain a divine art that I'd never have the chance to practice in my lifetime. It seems that taking down the administrative officer, Do Hong, is just a matter of time. Looking at the books scattered on the floor, I thought it was time to organize the shelves. Just then, the sound of a door opening came from behind me. Before I could make any move, I made eye contact with the other person. The man before me had his hands behind his back and was dressed like someone from the Central Plains. Out of confusion, I couldn't take my eyes off him. What made my heart race even more was the life symbol above this person's head. It actually showed 10 lives. The top master by C. Mague's side, Hey Me, only had 4 lives. Could this be the monster the administrative officer spoke of? Unexpectedly, just as I stood up to bow, he smiled and waved his hands repeatedly. No need to be so formal, little brother. This was very different from my expectations. At a glance, he gave off an air of innocence. He then asked me what my job was here. After learning that I was the scholar here, he made a request. There's a book here that I'm very fond of. Its name is the Three Excellences Original Teachings book. I wonder if you've seen it. As soon as he said this, my heart skipped a million beats, because the damn book was right in my hands. What surprised me even more was that the mysterious pop-up suddenly appeared and the time around me froze. My heart was in my throat. If I said the wrong thing, I could very well be killed right here. But why was he looking for this book? No, the point is, why did these options appear? If I said I hadn't seen the book, it would be a blatant lie. But I couldn't say I had mastered the martial arts in the book either. So I couldn't choose either of these two options. Seeing the countdown about to end, I had to make a choice. Compared to the worst, I could only choose a less bad option among them. Continue. I haven't seen such a book. As the countdown ended, time began to flow again. Drenched in sweat, I forced out the words that I haven't seen such a book. The man nodded, "Oh, so you haven't seen it either. Where did I put that thing?" He then turned and walked towards the bookshelf. Feeling uneasy, I added, "Let me help you look for it." The man nodded politely. "Thank you, then. I really can't remember where I put it." Seeing his smiling and approachable look, I finally breathed a slight sigh of relief. But before I could take 2 steps towards the door, he acted as if he had suddenly remembered something and clapped his hands playfully. "I remember where I put it." I felt I should say something, so I carefully asked where. Upon hearing this, he immediately froze on the spot. He then slowly turned his head, his face grim. "Isn't it right there in your robe?" In an instant, the air around seemed to freeze. Was I discovered? This is my last chance at rebirth. He's a terrifying monster with 10 lives above his head. The slightest misstep in front of him, will lead to immediate death. I wanted to slip away, but the damn pop-up always appears at critical moments, forcing me to make a choice. But the book the man was looking for was right in my hands. And I couldn't say I had learned the martial arts inside. Watching the pop-ups countdown tick away, I could only choose the lesser of two evils and lie. I haven't seen the book you're looking for. I thought I could get away with it like that. Unexpectedly, the man suddenly turned his head, his face grim. Isn't that book right there in your robe? Instantly, my mind went blank. Was I still discovered? Watching the man approach step by step, extreme tension made me tremble all over. It seems I still can't get rid of this monster. Should I insist that I don't know? Just as I was about to speak, the man burst out laughing. I was just kidding with you. It looks like you're new here, right? I'm Fuyiki. Please take care of me in the future, little brother. After speaking, he walked to the bookshelf and started reading a miscellaneous book, leaving me standing there blankly. This man's smile was too exaggerated, and his act of teasing me, I don't know if it was intentional. I must be on high alert. After some time passed like this, the silent Fu-ichi suddenly spoke. Did the Supreme Emperor Pavilion Master recommend you to come here? What a surprising old man. He's not the type to go out of his way to ask favors of others. Hearing the term old man, I inadvertently frowned. Since he called Simague an old man, it meant his status was higher than the Pavilion Master's. I hurriedly replied to him, the old master is very good to me. Fu-ichi gave a cold smile. Then why would he cripple what is called a martial artist's life, your right hand? I didn't know how to answer and could only stand there stiffly. His gaze remained on the book, his face wearing an all-knowing expression that my apologies. I didn't mean to look into your background. It's just that I was too curious about the new scholar. But it's a great fortune your neck wasn't chopped off. It's just that you'll have to give up learning the cult's demonic arts from now on. At this moment, I finally understood. This Fu-ichi had been provoking me from the very beginning, and he seemed to have forgotten his purpose for coming here. I was clearly here to find a book, but I kept reading unrelated miscellaneous books. Suddenly, the sound of him closing a book pulled me back from my thoughts. Are you wondering who I am? To be able to call the master of the Supreme Emperor Pavilion an old man at such a young age. In an instant, my face changed. How did he know what I was thinking? Could he read minds? I hurriedly bowed and answered, no, of course not. I wouldn't think such things. Fu-ichi placed the miscellaneous book back on the shelf. Then he cast a scrutinizing gaze at me again, that it's normal to have such thoughts. Now tell me, how far have you progressed in practicing that Su-shi demonic art? My eyes were fixed on the floor, not daring to meet his gaze. Could it be that he already knew, but was testing me? I quickly adjusted my mindset and said, I don't know what you're talking about. I can't use my right arm, so practicing martial arts is basically out of the question for me. He chuckled and patted my shoulder that I understand. You don't have to be so serious. Seeing Fu-ichi's reaction, I believe my words had worked. Of course, that was before his next sentence. He suddenly leaned in close to my ear and said slowly, but if you're not telling the truth, then you're just toying with me. Hearing his tone, which was impossible to distinguish between joking and serious, filled me with a heart-stopping fear. After speaking, he politely bid me farewell and walked towards the main door. Watching his retreating figure, I finally breathed a sigh of relief. I thought I had temporarily averted the crisis. But in the next second, Fu-ichi froze in place. It wasn't until I heard a ding that I understood. It wasn't that Fu-ichi had stopped walking on purpose, but that the mysterious pop-up window had been triggered, causing the surrounding time to freeze once again. But when I saw the choices the pop-up window gave me, I instantly felt like the sky was falling. He was actually the heavenly demon's fourth disciple, Coin-mo. His power ranked 30th within the demonic cult, and his martial arts ranking was near the absolute peak. The person standing before me was indeed a monster. Then, my gaze shifted to the second line. If I said I had mastered the Su-shi demonic art, he would definitely say I was toying with him. As for the third option, there was no need to even look. It was an absolutely unselectable option. In that case, I didn't need to worry. I had no choice. So, I decisively chose the first option that aren't you the heavenly demon's fourth disciple, Coin-mo, accompanied by a dazzling white light. The surrounding time began to flow again. Fu-ichi turned back and smiled faintly. IT seems you have a few tricks up your sleeve. Although I don't know how you found out, it doesn't change anything. I'm just someone who lost in the power struggle long ago. As soon as he said this, I hurriedly knelt and apologized. This lowly one was ignorant and offended you. I beg for your forgiveness. At this moment, there wasn't a ripple of emotion in Fu-ichi's eyes that it's fine. Go on with your business. He then turned and set off on his way again. However, he hadn't taken 2 steps before he stopped once more. The mysterious pop-up window appeared along with it. I was puzzled. Didn't I just make a choice? Why is this damn pop-up making me choose again? What on earth is going on? I thought this chapter was finally closed. But the pop-up wasn't finished yet. It was time again to make a choice, avoiding the worst option. The task continued. I immediately dropped to my knees with a thud. Actually, I have already mastered the Su-Shi demonic art you were looking for. After speaking, I started breaking out in a cold sweat again, not knowing how to clean up this mess. At this moment, Fuichi's face was terrifyingly grim. S.O. you were toying with me. I see you no longer wish to live. As soon as his voice fell, he drew his sword and lunged at me. Just at the moment of impact, the mysterious pop-up window triggered again. Fuichi was also frozen in midair. Looking at the strange option on the pop-up, I understood this could no longer be considered a choice. It was a one-sided compulsion. I was being forced to accept the worst-case scenario. The countdown this time was different from before. The timer had 3 digits. This meant the pop-up was giving me time to figure out the reason for this option. If an escape route still existed in this situation, then there must be a prerequisite. That is, the current option would transform from the worst choice into the optimal solution. Facing a disciple of the heavenly demon who was openly showing hostility, how was I supposed to persuade him? Suddenly, I thought of Kuin-mo's tone. He seemed to hold animosity towards Si Mague and his claim of not caring about the power struggle. Was it true? Since this option was given, it meant his situation was no different from mine. Only I could understand his immense craving for power, because I was the same. So, the way to quell his anger now was to give him power. Sima Gue holds the position of a pavilion master in the demonic cult, yet he's secretly colluding with a figure from the righteous path. Thinking of this, I decisively chose to proceed. Then, I shouted at the top of my lungs, "I see your situation is no different from mine." As soon as I said this, he did indeed halt his attack. At this moment, his expression was both panicked and furious. Persuading the man before me not to kill me was indeed very difficult, but I could only gather my courage and try. Lord Kuin-mo, when you were chosen as a disciple by the heavenly demon, the other disciples had already laid their foundations. So no matter how hard you worked, it was difficult to close the gap with the other disciples. What are you trying to say? Stop beating around the bush. As soon as he said this, I finally saw a hope of survival, because he could have killed me instantly, but instead, he only pressed his precious sword against my neck. This showed he was very curious about the meaning behind my words. I then shouted, "I ask that you win over the master of the Supreme Emperor Pavilion." As soon as I said this, a subtle change occurred in Kuin-mo's eyes. I continued to add, "The Supreme Emperor Pavilion is the core branch of the Red Demon Courtyard. As long as you control the Supreme Emperor Pavilion, you can seize the Red Demon Courtyard, one of the main organs of the Central Group. Isn't that why you came to see me?" Kuin-mo was stunned for a moment. Then he put away his precious sword. The killing intent surrounding him also vanished. So I raised my voice with even more force. "Lord Kuin-mo, you didn't come here to find the 3 Excellences original teachings book at all. Otherwise, you would have taken the book and left long ago." I thought to myself, why would the esteemed Kuin-mo come here? Why would he keep talking to someone like me from the very bottom? Finally, I understood one thing. You came looking for me. No, to be precise, you came looking for someone who might know the weakness of the master of the Supreme Emperor Pavilion. A month ago, the master of the Supreme Emperor Pavilion assigned a reconnaissance mission to our flying guest group. I was the only one left out, and on that mission, not a single member of the flying guest group survived. You must have heard about this. That's why you saw me as an unexpected variable. After hearing this, Kuin-mo finally laughed, and he couldn't stop laughing that you're truly an interesting fellow. No wonder that old man Si Mague dislikes you. In that case, tell me what his weakness is. I bowed in salute once more. If I provide Lord Kuin-mo with the information you need, what will I get in return? As soon as I said this, Kuin-mo's expression turned a little ugly. But I didn't back down, because I knew I would die sooner or later, but dying later is better than dying sooner. So I made my own proposal instead of being led by the nose. I've already gambled my life, so if there's something to be gained, I should gain it. Kuin-mo retorted, "What value does your life have? I know it has no value. But if I can save Lord Kuin-mo time and effort, or provide you with a good opportunity, wouldn't my life then have value?" Kuin-mo thought for a moment, then sheathed his drawn sword once more. "If your information is valuable, I will give you a corresponding reward." Having received this answer, it was time for me to reveal the truth. The master of the Supreme Emperor Pavilion is secretly colluding with Jiu Zhongming of the Mount Hua sect. Although I can't produce evidence right now, your power is not to be underestimated. You surely have mysterious experts who can uncover the truth. With a little time, the truth will surely be found. Kuan Mo accepted my proposal, but to test my loyalty to him, he gave me a mission. That was to kill the Black Moon Squad's leader, Qi Ming. If this task was accomplished, it would prove that I was not on the same side as the master of the Supreme Emperor Pavilion. But I knew very well that Kuan Mo's real purpose in sending me to assassinate Qi Ming was to send me to my death, because in his eyes, it was impossible for a bottom-tier grunt like me to defeat the leader of the Black Moon Squad. So, sending me to fight was a way to eliminate me and silence me. At the same time, according to the status windows prompt, Qi Ming's combat power was more than 10 times mine. Right now, only a sneak attack could give me a sliver of a chance to survive. The best time to eliminate an opponent. That is when he is at his most relaxed. So I went to the latrine in the area under Qi Ming's jurisdiction. I prepared to crawl under the toilet pit to wait for the right moment. I had once observed Qi Ming for a long time. Whenever he went to the latrine, he would stay for a very long time. I still remembered when I was under him, he would beat me when he was bored, and he would still beat me when he was happy. In order to kill him, I had rehearsed it in my mind countless times. And this time, I finally had my chance. I believed that with the Sushi demonic art, I could defeat him in a single blow. Soon night fell. Just then, a series of hurried footsteps rapidly approached. I knew it had to be Qi Ming, because he went to the latrine at a fixed time every day. Today would be no exception. So I quickly jumped into the toilet pit and hid myself well. Luckily, it was quite clean down here. It seemed to have been cleaned not long ago. I slowly drew my precious sword and waited for the right moment. When I heard the sound of his trouser legs being lowered, I knew the time had come. I immediately mobilized the true Qi from my Dantian and infused power into the sword. Then, following the secrets of the Sushi demonic art, I prepared to strike. Suddenly, an unidentified object fell from the sky. I cursed damn it in my heart. Immediately, my body leaned back, tracing a semicircle to dodge it. Then I swung my sword again. Just at that moment, a suddenly appearing pop-up blocked my line of sight. The content was Yustabo's sword. Not only that, but there was another pop-up. It told me that the opponent's weakness had been discovered. Now was the perfect opportunity for a one-hit kill. I really couldn't understand what this meant. My body also began to move uncontrollably on its own. The range of motion was so large that it could no longer be considered a sneak attack. Immediately, a tremendous force erupted from the tip of the sword, accompanied by a dazzling blue light. Qi Ming's, but was also split in two. I looked in astonishment at the sword in my hand, covered in fecal water. It was actually emitting a faint sword chi. Although I was covered in a foul stench, I was incredibly excited inside, because Qi Ming, whose butt had been slashed, had been killed by me in a single blow. At the same time as his death, his stamina value also dropped to 0. At that moment, I finally understood. It turns out that running out of stamina leads to death. But I didn't have time to think too much. The foul stench on my body rushed straight to my head. I hurried to the lakeside and started to wash myself. But no matter how much I washed, the smell couldn't be eliminated. I inadvertently saw my reflection in the water. My own rebirth chances had increased from 1 to 3. A trace of greed flashed in my eyes, but I quickly calmed my mood. How'd I execute that Debosor move just now? And I clearly used Sword Chi, but the status bar showed no decrease in internal energy. If I could use that powerful force at will, wouldn't I be able to become even stronger? But in this rebirth, I have already lost my right arm. If others find out that I killed Qi Ming, I will surely die without a burial place. And with this crippled right arm, it will probably be very difficult to become stronger in this life. Since that's the case, I might as well plan properly for the next rebirth. Now that the mission is complete, I should report back to Kuan Mo. But I still can't completely trust him right now. To be more precise, I still don't know his intentions. But if I can grasp the weakness of the master of the Supreme Emperor Pavilion, it wouldn't be a waste, even at the cost of this life. So I got dressed and walked straight towards the office of the master of the Supreme Emperor Pavilion. Arriving at the door, I didn't have anyone announce me. Instead, I walked straight in, kowtowed, and saluted. Heavenly Sun official, Scholar Shui Hui, pays his respect to the master of the Supreme Emperor Pavilion. Simague's face was rather ugly. Have you become completely insolent now? How dare you step into my study at will? What exactly do you want? He said as he approached me. And why do you reek so terribly? Out of cowardice, I didn't dare to look up at him, but kept my head down as I answered I had no choice. After all, personally killing the Black Moon Squad's leader, Qi Ming, is not an easy task. Hearing this shocking news, Sima Gue showed no expression, but approached me step by step. Consequently, my face became increasingly flushed. Could this be the terrifying aspect of the fire essence demonic art? He then leaned in front of me and grabbed my hair. Although I'm very curious how you killed Qi Ming, before that, who did you go to see? I advise you not to play clever tricks with me. If you dare to lie, I'll kill you immediately. Sima Gue thought I would confess honestly, but I gasped for breath and retorted, compared to who I went to see, what's more important is what the pavilion master wants to hide, isn't it? The tone of my voice sent Sima Gue into a rage. Ever since you went to the Heavenly Sun Temple, has your brain gone bad? I see you really don't want to live anymore. At this moment, I finally let go of my fear and was no longer afraid that a man should speak directly. Haven't you always wanted me dead? Since you're so curious, I'll tell you the truth. I went to see Lord Kuinemo. He was the one who sent me here. I knew in my heart that this was all a lie. It didn't matter even if I was exposed, because right now, I needed to provoke him and then extract important information. Sima expressionlessly let go of my hair, then slowly stood up. His brief anger vanished, and he instead appeared calm and composed. Since it was Kuinmo's assignment, then I can understand why Qi Ming was killed. Go ahead and ask now. What does he want to know? He asks when and where you secretly met with Jiao Zhongming of the Mount Hua sect. He also asked for the time and place of your next appointment. I was eager to know how he would answer. Secretly colluding with the righteous path, regardless of the reason, is a great crime of treason within the demonic cult. He was silent for a long time, but didn't answer. Was my provocation not enough? I then spoke again. Pavilion Master, Lord Kuinemo has been thinking about this question for a long time. So please, just tell the truth. After a moment, he finally spoke. We've arranged to meet at Huangjia Mountain at the beginning of next month. My eyes widened, and at the same time, I cheered inwardly. This old bastard finally took the bait. Just then, a square patch of light suddenly appeared on the ground. I quietly reached out to touch it, but I couldn't feel anything. Just at that moment, the mysterious pop-up suddenly appeared. First, it congratulated me on obtaining the master of the Supreme Emperor Pavilion's secret map. Then it asked if I wanted to view the details. Of course, I wanted to see such a good thing. It turned out this map had a simple drawing of Huangjia Mountain. That was the place where he first met Jiao Zhongming of the Mount Hua sect. After that, they would meet here every quarter for secret talks. I was both surprised and happy. What also attracted my attention was this item box. But before I had time to study its use, Sima Gue suddenly spoke. It's only been a little over a month since I sent you to your post at the Heavenly Sun Official. Did he trust you so much? Not only did he teach you martial arts, but he also sent you to kill Qi Ming and finally had you come here to gather intelligence for him. Is that right? His tone, gaze, and expression made me a little uneasy, but I still nodded with a firm look in my eyes. Unexpectedly, as soon as I finished, a large hole was pierced through my chest by Sima Gue. You really take me for a fool, don't you? Do you know where you went wrong? It doesn't matter telling a dead man. Kuinemo doesn't teach martial arts to others, because he only uses the martial arts taught by the cult leader. Seeing Sima Gue's smug face, I wanted to laugh. Looks like you, the fool, still don't know, do you? This sentence stunned Sima Gue. What are you trying to say? I grinned. What I mean is, you've already completely lost. Sima Gue was both furious and speechless, regretting that he had ever let such a madman into the demonic cult. Then, accompanied by a frenzied assault, the mysterious restart pop-up was triggered once again. In order to become stronger, I willingly endured the suffering of reincarnation. I finally obtained the important information from Sima Gue's mouth. As the mysterious restart pop-up was triggered again, I also returned to the timeline before I went to see the master of the Supreme Emperor Pavilion. Although my rebirth chances had dropped from 3 to 2, this intact arm put my mind at ease. Looking at the status bar on the system panel, perhaps because my right arm was restored, my stamina and internal energy had also increased slightly. But why was the sushi demonic art missing? I tried hard to recall every move of the demonic art. A pop-up then prompted that I had obtained the sushi demonic art. It turns out that as long as I remember it, the pop-up will show it. Not only that, I could also freely take out the map stored inside the item box. Opening it up, it indeed contained the simple map of Huangjia Mountain that Si Maguei had mentioned. At the same time, there were also herbs and a sheep bladder flask to help me recover stamina. I just took a small sip and my stamina indeed recovered somewhat. Of course, a good thing like this should be saved for a critical moment. So I put it back into the item box for future use. This time, I didn't follow the main storyline to go see Si Maguei, because in the last reincarnation, I had already obtained his secret. I'm going to use it as a pledge of allegiance to make myself stronger. So I got dressed and went straight to the 12th floor of the Heavenly Sun Temple. This was where Lord Kuan Mo's office was located. I immediately bowed and saluted. Lord Kuan Mo, Flying Guest Group Squad Captain Shui, we request an audience. Because this was a new reincarnation, Kuan Mo and I had not yet met. He curiously asked me why I had come. Facing the powerful Kuan Mo, I was a little nervous, but I still gathered my courage and stated the purpose of my visit. I have brought crucial information that can aid you when you achieve great things in the future. Although his tone was a bit skeptical, he ultimately agreed and let me into the room to talk. Just like last time, he wore that same inscrutable smile on his face. Go on. What is this information that can help me achieve great things? I let out a long sigh of relief. As expected, he wasn't like Si Maguei, who would get angry because of my rashness. So I quickly presented the secret map. When he unfolded the map and saw its contents, he instantly lost his composure. Even the tone of his voice changed. He coldly questioned me whether this information was true. His gaze made me feel restless, but I still stated that I could guarantee it with my life. He just snorted coldly. Your life is not even worth mentioning. Speak, what do you want to get? I bowed in salute again, and at the same time stated my thoughts that I want to pledge my allegiance to you, Lord Kuan Mo. I want to become strong like others. He slowly folded the map and then came to stand before me. If this information is true, I will naturally grant your wish. He then left the office. Just like that, 3 hours had passed since Kuan Mo left to confirm the information. I felt increasingly anxious. For some reason, that inscrutable smile of his gave me a strange sense of unease. The business of the power organs within the demonic cult includes halls, courtyards, pavilions, chambers, and towers. The relationships within the cult's organs are unknown to the members themselves. But the only thing that can be confirmed now is that Si Maguei's superior is not the fourth disciple, Kuan Mo, but the first disciple, Shy Mo. From this, I deduced that Kuan Mo would not go directly to Si Maguei with a map. My life was temporarily safe. Just then, Kuan Mo returned. Looking at his expressionless face, I felt both fear and unease. What if this plan failed? How should I plan for my next life? Just at that moment, a pop-up suddenly triggered, asking if I needed to save my progress. At first, I didn't quite understand, but when I saw the next pop-up with the word node, I finally had a revelation. This represented the time node for my next rebirth. Following the confirmation on the pop-up, the text on it began to appear character by character. Time save point set to Chapter 2 of the 95th year of the Heavenly Calendar. Title: The 3 Lives Offered by Kuan Mo. As the save was completed, Kuan Mo finally spoke. Among these 3, choose one. As soon as his voice fell, the surrounding time stopped again. This was a completely different format from the previous options. Each option pointed to a completely different life from the present. And new text appeared below, telling me the difficulty of each option. The first, the Martial Officials Path, is the cult's representative educational and training center. Therefore, the training is conducted personally by the central group. Each year, only 3 or 4 people are selected for training from over 100 candidates. Although one can learn very strong internal and martial arts there. But this skill alone is not enough for self-preservation. The second option is to be personally trained by an elder of the Lujing Hall. He is a figure ranked 94th in the cult. However, he has a violent temperament. A slight misstep could easily result in being educated into paralysis. And the last option is the most difficult, which also gives me an ominous premonition. Who exactly does he want to kill? This specific person mentioned in this line. Could it also be to eliminate the master of the Supreme Emperor Pavilion? However, to eliminate him, one must have status and corresponding strength. Looking at these 3 options, I was both hesitant and troubled. But before getting stronger, I first have to be able to save my own life. So, I decisively chose the first option with the lowest difficulty, become a core warrior of the demonic cult. As the pop-up disappeared, the surrounding time began to flow again, because I knew very well that no matter the situation, as long as I could obtain life points, I could change my current situation through reincarnation. There were still 6 days until the martial official's path. So Coin Mo spoke with the administrative officer on the first floor, arranging for me to wait in the underground warehouse. At the same time, he told me that there was a copy of the Three Excellences Original Teachings book in the warehouse's library, which I could study on my own. At that moment, I finally understood. It turned out that in the last reincarnation, when he asked if I had seen this book, he wasn't just making small talk. Just then, a question occurred to me. My right arm was now perfectly fine. Perhaps I could learn the 2 demonic arts I failed to master in my previous life. So I sprinted to the library in the underground warehouse. After rummaging around for a while, I finally found that Three Excellences Original Teachings book. The moment I touched it, the mysterious pop-up was triggered. Seeing the content of the options, I almost jumped for joy. The Red Hand demonic art practiced by the former vice cult leader and the rushing fire demonic art of the master of the Supreme Emperor Pavilion. I could learn them both now. The Red Hand demonic arts techniques were very peculiar and extremely destructive. The rushing fire demonic art is used by the master of the Supreme Emperor Pavilion and is one of the top demonic arts in the cult. Its destructive power is even more astonishing. This was a power I wouldn't have even dared to dream of in my past life. There were still 6 days until the talent selection. I had to train hard. Just like that, time flew by, and the day to enter the martial official's path soon arrived. Although I had learned the 3 demonic arts above, I still couldn't unleash power like the shadow. It seemed to be due to insufficient internal energy. As long as my internal energy increased, I would surely be able to use it. Just then, a stranger suddenly entered the room. He was the guide sent by Lord Coin Mo to take me to the martial official's path. At the same time, he handed me a Jew pill. By consuming it, I could increase my internal energy by more than 10 years. I was ecstatic. It was just what I needed. A jiazi is 60 years of internal energy. I should be at around 3 years now. It seems the value of this pill is extraordinary, and Coin Mo giving me this pill before the competition was to help me survive. From this, I can deduce that the opponents in the martial official's path are by no means ordinary. As I consumed the pill, my internal energy rose from 3 digits to 4. My stamina also increased slightly. At the same time, a pop-up informed me that I had also acquired mind reading. Although it was currently only at the lowest imitation stage, it could grasp the opponent's status and enhance my own vision. The guide's status window then appeared. He was one of Coin Mo's guards, and also a spy sent to Coin Mo's side by the heavenly demon's first disciple, Shai Mo. But what I didn't understand was, why did he have such a strong sense of hostility towards me? If his identity as a spy was true, then I could leave a very good impression on Coin Mo. Just as I thought of this, he suddenly stopped walking. He then pointed to a building in the distance. Ahead is the main gate of the martial official's path. You can walk the rest of the way yourself. After speaking, he prepared to turn and leave. But just as I brushed past him, that damn pop-up jumped out again. Looking at the options on it, I was puzzled. I had already received the Jew pill from him, but it wasn't the flying dragon pill mentioned in the pop-up. And judging from the expression in the 3rd line, this time the option was likely an action, not a conversation. From this, I deduced that the first option was not viable, because speaking so directly, I was afraid I'd lose my life. The 3rd was meaningless, so I decisively chose the 2nd option, that is there nothing you wish to say to me? The moment the pop-up disappeared, he turned his head with a questioning look. I was worried he hadn't heard clearly, so I gathered my courage and repeated, "Is there nothing you wish to say to me?" Seeing his fierce expression, I quickly continued to explain. The martial official's path is a place where top-tier experts gather. Lord Coin Mo must be very clear about my strength. And the spirit pill you just gave me also indicates that it's by no means easy to survive here. But I've only increased my internal energy by a little. Won't I be in mortal danger if I go in so rashly? After hearing this, He first coughed awkwardly a couple of times, then silently reached behind his back. I thought he would directly give me another flying dragon pill, but what he took out was a short sword. The pop-up told me that although this sword was not powerful, it had the strange effect of being able to improve one's mood. I gave an awkward smile and cursed the dog-like thing a few times in my heart. I then took the sword and arrived at the main gate of the martial officials' path. This was a place that only those recommended by the heads of the core departments could enter. Not only could one obtain martial arts manuals here, but one could also practice the skills needed to complete missions. But I was worried they would confiscate my weapon after I went in, so I put this broken shadow sword into the item box. Only then did I walk in with peace of mind. The old man before me was a guardian emissary of the cult, and also the proctor for the martial officials' path. Although his strength was a level below the Supreme Emperor Pavilion, they were the direct subordinates of the central group, so no one in the demonic cult dared to slight them. My first test was to choose one of 4 bamboo slips. The characters on them meant body, speech, writing, and judgment. It seemed that what I would be tested on in the martial officials' path would be decided by what I chose. Since I had to choose all 4 eventually, there was no point in thinking about which one to pick first. So I reached out and took the first bamboo slip with the character for body written on it. Seeing that I had made my choice, the proctor simultaneously gave the mission details. It was to collect 6 wooden plaques engraved with the character for body. The time limit was 1 day. To be precise, as long as I could survive until this time tomorrow, the competition would be over. Following the instructions, I walked through the door on the right. At the same time, he told me that inside were all the manuals, treasures, and weapons that everyone wanted. I could take as much as I wanted, as long as I could complete the main mission. I figured there must be opponents in here who made the same choice as me. I had to get 6 wooden plaques from their hands. In other words, I had to kill them. I just hoped they would have life point symbols above their heads. Soon, I arrived at the trial grounds. There were all sorts of buildings here. I thought that if I just wandered around, I could find something advantageous to me. But on the other hand, the more I did that, the more danger I would be in. To get what I wanted, I had to move as quickly as possible. But speaking of which, it was too quiet here. Did I arrive too early? I couldn't hear any sound at all. To avoid alerting anyone, I locked onto a target building and then began to move quickly. I didn't stop until I ran to a safe area. I looked around and saw no signs of any movement. Only then did I breathe a sigh of relief. But just then, a pop-up warning was triggered. It prompted me that an unknown enemy had discovered my weakness. How should I respond now? It then gave me 3 choices: fight, defend, or flee. This was the first time I had seen such an option. Seeing that the countdown was about to end, I decisively chose to flee to save my life. My body then lost control and jumped straight into the air. But in the end, I was still slashed from behind by the enemy. With a miserable cry, I fell to the ground. Although the bowl cut who ambushed me had a thicker health bar, his internal energy was far below mine. Damn it, if I had known, I would have chosen to face him head on. I ended up losing half my health for nothing. Looking at that bowl cut's taunting appearance, I couldn't contain my anger. I then slowly drew my saber. Instantly, the blade struck out like a dragon. This time, I used the sword technique of the Su Sheath Demonic ART. SU represents cold chi. When I breathe, white frost appears around my mouth. It is precisely because of this cold chi. The bone-chilling cold chi will slow down the opponent's movements. Accompanied by a delicate blue light, this damn bowl cut also fell to the ground. Although my demonic art is still in the imitation stage, it is several times more powerful than before. Using the demonic art will slightly reduce both stamina and internal energy. While it's great to see my status in real time, it also makes me feel death more keenly. But I didn't have time to think, because now is the time to loot the body. Not only did I find a wooden plaque needed for the mission, but I also obtained a golden sore ointment that could quickly heal wounds. After looting the spoils of war, I quickly found a safe place to treat my wound. I wanted to use the golden sore ointment to heal, but in a situation like this, I should be more cautious. What if I encounter an expert stronger than myself? Wouldn't the golden sore ointment be wasted? In any case, I had to kill these guys before I left this world. So I opened my item box and chose to use medicinal herbs to stop the bleeding. In an instant, not only did my health recover a bit, but the bleeding from the wound also stopped. Just then, I heard the sound of hurried footsteps. I quickly found a hidden spot and hid myself. Then, I mustered my courage and peeked out. I saw a man dragging a corpse in. He was currently searching for loot. I remembered that the Supreme Emperor Pavilion had 7 squads. They were gold, wood, water, fire, Earth, and also Sun and Moon. And the word black was added before each squad's name. The captain of the Black Moon squad who used to bully me was Chi Ming. And the man before me, Tu Ah Hao, is the captain of the Black Fire squad. His strength must be above mine. If I want to take him out, I have to do it in one move. I still remember the weakness pop-up that appeared when I killed Chi Ming. Can I use that pop-up this time? But right now, I don't know how to activate it. He's in a relaxed and unguarded state right now. Why isn't the weakness pop-up appearing? Does it have to wait for an even safer opportunity than this? Seeing that he was about to put on the looted armor, I decided not to wait anymore. Although I was injured, if he put on the armor and upgraded his defense, I would never have another chance. But just as I was about to draw my sword, suddenly the weakness pop-up appeared. A weakness has been found in the Black Fire captain, Tu Ah Hao. How will you respond? Immediately following were 3 response methods, but from the literal meaning, I couldn't see any difference. Seeing that he was about to put on the defensive armor, I decisively chose the first attack option. But after making the choice, the pop-up prompted again. That time would rewind by 3 seconds. Please move immediately. This means that Tu Ah Hao will return to the state before he put on the armor. Heaven is truly on my side. I immediately drew my longsword, got behind Tu Ah Hao, and as the sharp blade pierced through, Tu Ah Hao's health bar was depleted. I was ecstatic. I then quickly knelt down and rummaged through his belongings. I ended up finding 5 wooden plaques on him. Besides that, there were some other unexpected gains. So I put everything into the item box. The item box was also very considerate. The weapon and item box was very considerate. It automatically categorizes items. Seeing the golden sword medicine go from 1 to 4, I decisively took one out extravagantly and consumed it. My health was instantly maxed out, and the pain in my body disappeared at the same time. But to be on the safe side, I also put on that piece of armor. Not only did it increase my defense, but it was also completely unnoticeable from the outside. But before I could be happy, the pop-up warning prompted again that an enemy had appeared nearby. Should I choose to engage, defend, or flee? Damn it, I was so happy just now that I didn't pay attention to my surroundings. But choosing to fight is the worst option. I don't even know who the opponent is. But if I choose to flee, I'm afraid it will be like that bowl-cut guy I met last time. So I decisively chose to defend. After confirming the defense, the pop-up also told me the enemy's specific location. But the distance was too close, and I had no time to react at all. I ended up taking a slash from the opponent, and my health was almost at rock bottom. It seems that compared to fleeing, defending just adds a notification of the opponent's position. Luckily, I put on the heavenly silver armor. Otherwise, with my low health, it would have been enough to kill me several times over. This enemy is much stronger than any I've faced before. Am I going to have to go back to the moment I loaded my save? The man's life symbol above his head showed only 1 life, but his strength was greater than that of the 2 demonic generals combined. Even though the heavenly silver armor could greatly enhance my defense, I was still beaten to critical health with a single strike from his sword. Looking at the opponent's terrifyingly immense strength on the pop-up, my brain started working at high speed. His internal energy is 3 times mine, and his health is 20 times mine even when I'm at full health. But how can such a powerful practitioner possibly have only 1 life? I felt both wronged and unwilling. Every loop ends in despair. I don't know what fate awaits me the next time I load the game. The Shura across from me looked displeased. What are you muttering about? So much nonsense when you're about to die. Unwilling to give up, I drew my sword. Because I knew that even if I was going to be killed, I had to struggle to the very end. I immediately pushed off with my heels and leaped above the man's head. Perhaps it was out of survival instinct. It made the illusory aura and the gleam of my sword feel exceptionally dazzling. But the Shura looked disdainful. He casually raised his hand and sword to block. Unexpectedly, due to his carelessness, he was knocked back more than 10 meters by this sword energy. I didn't expect that a simple sword strike would cause the Shura's stamina and internal energy to drop significantly. The Shura's expression changed instantly. He viciously questioned, "What kind of martial art is this?" And this scene made hope surge in my heart once again. I remember there was once a secret manual called the Susho Demonic Art. It was the strongest demonic art that only those at the level of the Grandmaster's elders could perform, using extremely Yin and cold energy. Because this martial art requires the use of Yin energy, women are more adept at practicing it than men. But because that martial art was too powerful, both men and demons scrambled to learn it. Therefore, many other martial arts were derived from it. The sushi demonic art must be one of them. Although this attack was successful, I wasn't in much better shape, because that move consumes a large amount of internal energy. Seeing that his every move was becoming more ferocious, it was indeed very difficult to keep up with his speed. All I could do was dodge as much as possible. The Shura was exceptionally angry at me for dodging like a mouse. He put all his strength into every sword strike, clearly wanting to settle the fight in one go. But the more anxious he became, the more weaknesses he revealed. In the end, I managed to seize an opportunity. The moment our swords touched, the bone-chilling cold energy slowed the opponent's movements. I was about to repeat the same trick, but because the difference in our strength was too great, not only did I fail to injure him, but I was instead sent flying more than 10 meters away. The Shura looked down on me. To think you could exchange dozens of blows with me using just one skill. You're quite a talent. Don't worry, I'll give you a quick death. The moment he raised his sword, a mysterious pop-up suddenly triggered, informing me that my proficiency in the sushi demonic art had increased from imitation to the beginner stage. In my despair, I instantly saw a glimmer of hope. I immediately raised my sword and charged forward. After a few splendid clashes, we were once again evenly matched. At the same time, my movement speed was also much faster than before. The Shura was extremely surprised by my sudden surge in strength, probably wondering if this was a final burst of energy before death. But before he could figure out, his longsword suddenly made a cracking sound and a fissure appeared on it. Then, a pop-up prompted that a weakness of the Shura had been found. Choose, attack, use martial art, or use item. I didn't have time to be happy. My eyes moved straight down, because choosing attack might not be a one-hit kill. This time, I chose use martial art. Although 3 options appeared in the pop-up, both the sushi demonic art and the jiaoji demonic art were unusable, probably due to insufficient internal energy. So I directly chose barehanded. My body then lost control, and my right hand unconsciously struck straight at the Shura's chest. The moment of contact, a beast-like tongue of fire erupted from my palm. It directly burned the Shura to a crisp. His health bar was also depleted. Just like that, the originally unbeatable Shura was defeated by me. But more than joy, I was more worried about my own life. Right now, both my stamina and internal energy have bottomed out. If I run into an enemy, I probably won't be so lucky. So I quickly collected the loot and headed for a safe area. As the sun rose, after using a golden sword medicine to recover my stamina, I hid in the woods on the outskirts of the building complex. At this point, having collected 6 wooden plaques, I had already met the conditions to pass. I originally wanted to put the extra wooden plaques I got from the Shura into the item box for the next loop, but the item box rejected them. It was as if it was rejecting anything that would help in the next loop. And these 2 spirit pills, I had originally planned to use them too, but I felt it was necessary to plan more carefully. Because once I die, I'll return to the starting point. So using spirit pills without a plan is no different from wasting them. But secret manuals are different from spirit pills. As long as a learned martial art is remembered in my mind, it won't disappear. For example, this invisibility art I got from the Shura. From this, I can conclude that the more secret manuals, the better. If I can make good use of the secret manuals and the weakness window, it will surely bring me great power. In the process of repeated rebirths, I've confirmed one thing. As long as there's an opportunity, I must seize it completely. Looking at the sun's position, it should be noon. After hiding in a tree hollow all night, I could finally move. I cautiously walked towards the entrance of the martial official's path office. Suddenly, a dazzling light burst forth. This magical light was clearly not a natural phenomenon. In the end, it was just as I expected. Do you want to save? I had seen this text before. Looking at the 2 remaining storage spaces on the panel, I paused for a moment. Although I don't know when the save pop-up will appear again, or if this is the last time, this time I chose not to save. There are still many treasures here, so in the next loop, I will definitely come back. As the light faded, I walked straight into the martial official's path office. While I put down the bamboo slips, a hint of surprise flashed in the guardian emissary's eyes. But he didn't say much, instead spreading out the remaining 3 bamboo slips for me to choose one. Since I had to choose eventually, I directly chose the bamboo slip in front of me with the character speech written on it. The guardian emissary took back the bamboo slips and pointed to the left rear. "Go over there." So I bowed and walked straight towards the entrance. Suddenly, a question flashed through my mind. Why can't I see anyone else? Although this isn't the only entrance, I should have at least run into a few people after coming out of the first test. But the place where I was is completely empty. Forget it. I won't think about it. As long as I pass, it's fine. The entrance led directly underground. After a flight of stairs, a small room appeared. The speech character was carved on the door. What kind of test will it be this time? With this doubt, I opened the wooden door. What came into view was a disheveled, burly man. The faint killing intent he exuded made me feel uncomfortable all over, even a little nauseous. He must be a top-tier master. Just then, the life symbol above his head caught my attention. To me, this was more important than anything else because it represented the number of life loops. But this time, the symbol was different from before. I couldn't understand its meaning. Suddenly, he burst out cursing, "You damn brat, what are you looking at?" I was so scared I quickly lowered my head and bowed. "I came for the martial official's path test. I want to join." But before I could finish, he interrupted me again. "If you dare say one more word, I'll take your life." That soul-shaking killing intent made me shut my mouth instantly. My hands also began to tremble uncontrollably. I stood there, thinking about what to do. Is this also part of the test? If I can't take the test, I'll be disqualified. I have to do something now. I slowly looked around the room. The room was empty, with nothing in it. Just as I was at a loss, a note in a bowl caught my attention. So I quietly bypassed the big man, not forgetting to glance back at him. Does he not care what I do? Then I carefully picked up the note. Suddenly, a pop-up. First question triggered. You have received a secret mission to find and kill 3 people from the Central Plains. After searching, you find them hiding in a house deep in the mountains. They are now preparing to leave. Among them, one is stronger than you, one is equal in strength to you, and one is weaker than you. And your superior is not around. How will you respond? For choices were randomly given. The question in this test really confused me. The first option, trying to ambush and kill the enemy, is too risky. The second, talking to them, is also dangerous. The fourth, not making any choice, feels meaningless. Then the third option, wait for the superior to arrive, might be the wisest choice. As I confirmed my choice, I inadvertently blurted out, "I'll just wait nearby." After all, safety first. As soon as I said that, the big man suddenly grinned. "You damn brat, I clearly warned you." His words instantly filled me with a strange sense of fear. I hurriedly turned around, but it was already too late. The big man was holding a sword in his hand, I don't know since when. Along with a fine gleam of cold light, a clearly visible red line appeared on my neck. I cursed inwardly, damn it. Then my vision went black, and I couldn't make any sound. When I opened my eyes again, I was back at the save point, chapter 2 of the 95th year of the heavenly calendar. Of the 3 lives Kuin-Mo gave, I returned to the first save point. Become Kuin-Mo's core warrior. This was the exact same choice as in my previous life. Before leaving, he didn't forget to mention the 3 talents original scripture to me. After giving his instructions, he left his office. I subconsciously touched my neck. I really didn't expect that foot-picking big man to be so strong. I didn't even have time to resist. This can only mean that I'm very weak. If I want to survive, I have to be better prepared. So I opened my item box. Just as I expected, the items in the item box can be kept permanently. In other words, stealing things from Kuin-Mo's room and putting them in the item box won't be affected by death. So I started searching for valuable things. I inadvertently saw myself in the mirror and couldn't help but feel a pang of sadness. I had worked so hard to kill the Shura and gain an extra life, only to waste it just like that. So now I only have 2 chances to be reborn. But I didn't have time to be sentimental. I had to act quickly now. I carefully checked every place where things could be hidden, including drawers and wardrobes, but I couldn't find anything useful. Frustrated, I was about to close the wardrobe when I noticed a small door behind the clothes. The moment I inadvertently touched it, a pop-up suddenly gave a signal. Looking at the contents of the status bar before me, I instantly got goosebumps. This is no ordinary secret manual. It was taught to the disciples by the heavenly demon. Kuin-Mo was taught one of the top martial arts in the demonic cult. Excited, I ran all the way to a deserted underground warehouse. Then I hurriedly opened the item box and stored it. Seeing the words "safely stored," I breathed a sigh of relief. Next, I began to check my own status window. My current ability values could be described as abysmal. This time, I must ask Juyin for the flying dragon pill. After being killed so inexplicably in my last life, I understood one thing. A safe and cautious choice does not bring the best result. And whoever gets the treasures of the martial official's path first will have a great impact on their destiny. Especially to fight against masters and pass the test, one must be fully prepared. This means I need to become stronger by any means necessary. So I chose to use all the remaining spirit pills. Immediately, my stamina and internal energy values instantly jumped from double digits to 4 digits. But it wasn't just a numerical change. The physical changes also exceeded my expectations. My body fat decreased, my muscles grew, and it even seemed like I had grown much taller. Next, what I need to do is learn the 4th level demonic art I just obtained. This is a divine art that can destroy a building with just a finger. But before I could be happy, a system pop-up suddenly prompted that this secret manual cannot be used. At least, I must meet the standard values of 30,000 stamina and 50,000 internal power. Looking at the astronomical numbers on the system panel made me feel it was out of reach. Right now, I can only achieve my goal by using various opportunities. I set my sights on the great ship Sword of the Sioux, She demonic art. The details page says this is a move with powerful sword energy that doesn't consume internal energy. As long as I unlock this secret, most of my problems will be solved. Time flew by, and soon it was time to enter the martial official's path again. Just like in the last life, Ju Yun found me and handed me the Fei Ju pill. The moment I took it, both my stamina and internal energy increased. At the same time, my barehanded demonic art also improved from imitation to beginner. With this kind of strength, I probably won't lose easily to others in the martial official's path this time. After arriving at the martial official's path, he pointed to the main gate. Ahead is the martial official's path. After saying that, he prepared to turn and leave. It was exactly the same as the last life. The moment we passed each other, the pop-up appeared as expected, but the second option from last time had disappeared. It must be because the Severing Shadow Sword was already in my item box. Although the remaining 2 options were both tricky, I still chose the most direct option. Hand over the flying dragon pill you received from Lord Kun Mo. Ju Yun looked back at me, displeased. What did you say? At this moment, I was a little nervous, but I still mustered my courage and repeated it. Lord Kun Mo said he would give me the Fei Ju pill and the flying dragon pill, so I was just asking you. Ju Yun stared at me without speaking, but I could feel his expression stiffen. Could it be that you didn't receive it? Then I'm really sorry. Although it's a bit late to enter the martial official's path now, since it has come to this, I'll go get it from Lord Kun Mo myself. Sure enough, as soon as I finished speaking, Ju Yun handed that flying dragon pill to me. It was ruddy in texture and glowed with a blue light. You could tell it was no ordinary spirit pill just by looking at it. But unexpectedly, the moment I took it, a heavy punch struck my chest, instantly incapacitating me. Then Ju Yun came up to me and looked at me viciously. Anyway, you won't come out alive after entering the martial official's path. But even if you do survive, I will kill you. He spat on the ground and turned to leave. Watching his disappearing back, I had only one thought in my mind. If I can pass, the first one I'll kill is you. I then put the flying dragon pill into my mouth. Instantly, all my stats increased significantly. At the same time, as my mind-reading skill improved from imitation to beginner, I was finally able to view Ju Yun's status panel. Stamina, 15,000. Seeing that, I must improve my strength as soon as possible. The scene changes, and I arrive at the martial official's path office. As expected, after confirming my identity, the guardian emissary presented 4 bamboo slips. In the same scene, he said the same words. This was also to be expected. I then once again chose the bamboo slip with the body character. But this time was different from the last. I asked him a question. This test isn't just for me alone, is it? Judging from the wooden plaques, there should be other people. Why haven't I seen anyone here? Are there other entrances besides this one? But the guardian emissary was silent. More accurately, he was like a stone lion at the entrance of a temple, motionless. I thought to myself, I might as well just go in. The moment I stepped through the doorway, he finally spoke and said some inexplicable words. He told me that one's standards will get higher over time. I didn't understand. Does having higher standards mean that the later you enter, the stronger you are? Anyway, I'll have to fight sooner or later. The right thing to do is to act quickly and get more treasures. And so, I once again came to this place of blood and gore. After entering the examination grounds, I scanned my surroundings warily. I remember being ambushed as soon as I got close to the building at my last life. This time, I planned to ambush him instead. but I changed my observation points several times and still couldn't find the bowl cut guy's position. If I delay any longer, I might be attacked by others. In the end, I decided to walk over and use myself as bait. Just then, the pop-up triggered as expected. I grinned. The time has finally come. Last time, I chose the flee option, and as a result, I left my back open to the enemy and was severely injured. But I don't want to choose defend either, because I know the enemy's combat power is not high. I can easily take him down now. With the confirmation of the fight option, the bowl cut guy also appeared as expected. He leaped down from a high place and came straight for my head. I just easily raised my sword to block. Sparks flew in an instant. The bowl cut guy was knocked back more than 10 meters. At this moment, there was an overwhelming difference in our strength. It was as if to prove that even when I'm looking right at him, the weakness status window can appear. I didn't expect that seeing this kind of disparity with my own eyes would be so much fun. Now, I'll win no matter which option I choose. I've already used attack and martial art, so I'm preparing to use this bowl cut guy to understand the characteristics of the item box. The secret manuals on the item box panel disappeared, only showing the medicinal herbs and equipment that could be used. So I chose the Severing Shadow Sword from the equipment. This time, the pop-up asked another question. In which position do you want to place the Severing Shadow Sword? I chose right hand and then continued. A bright light flashed from my right hand and the sword appeared at the same time. It seems this function should be very useful when a sword breaks or is dropped, but it can only be used when the window appears. At this time, the bowl cut guy opposite me looked shocked. He then charged at me without any hesitation. But in my eyes, his speed was too slow. A simple sword strike was enough to kill him easily. While searching for loot, I was thinking, when an enemy's weakness is discovered, which option is the best? Choosing to use the item box is not better than choosing attack and rewinding 3 seconds. However, in a crisis, using a spirit pill to restore stamina is helpful. After finding the bamboo slip with a body character, I came to a larger building, because in my opinion, the larger the building, the more treasures there will be. I looked around before climbing over the wall. I continued to move forward in a low posture, not forgetting to activate the invisibility art to hide my presence. Although I'm much stronger than before, this is all relative. As long as the opponent's strength is similar, I won't be discovered so easily. I leaped back and forth on the eaves between each floor. I soon arrived at the roof of the target building. I then quietly sneaked in and began to search for my target. But after a thorough search, I found nothing. But thinking about it, it makes sense. If treasures could be found so easily, they wouldn't be called treasures. Just then, I sensed movement nearby. I quickly hid in a corner and peeked out to observe. Normally, I wouldn't be able to hear anything from this position. It must be the effect of the invisibility art, allowing me to hear faint sounds around me. The invisibility art was researched to hide one's presence. Finding the opponent's presence is also part of the martial art, so it's not surprising that it has this effect. Seeing the opponent enter the next room, I prepare to follow quietly and wait for the weakness window. But from outside the door, I could only hear him moving around, but I couldn't see the specific situation inside. I became more and more anxious because being exposed in the hall so defenselessly could be dangerous. I had to avoid an extreme situation where I needed to deal with threats from both inside and outside. So I carefully and boldly pushed open the door. The man who was rummaging through things inside suddenly turned his head. His reaction was so fast that the weakness window didn't have time to activate. It only displayed the enemy's status bar. He was the squad leader of the Annihilation Squad of the Wu Tian Pavilion. His combat power was far below mine, so I charged forward without hesitation and swung my sword down. Although the opponent barely blocked my fatal blow, he lost his balance due to panic and twisted his ankle. He then fell to the ground with a clang. Naturally, I wouldn't let go of this excellent opportunity. I directly stabbed my sword into his shoulder. This powerful blow made his stamina drop to the bottom in an instant. Based on my experience, a pop-up window for the opponent's weakness should have appeared. But why didn't it this time? At this moment, the man suddenly begged me weakly to kill him. Only then did I understand. The weakness window doesn't appear for someone who has already lost the will to fight. I inadvertently turned my head and saw the storage cabinet he had been rummaging through. Inside, apart from a piece of yokon, there was nothing else. I then looked at the man again with a scrutinizing gaze. You've been rummaging here for so long. What exactly were you looking for? But he didn't answer my question. I don't know if he had lost consciousness. I was worried that someone might come in at any moment, so I raised my sword to finish him off. Just then, a pop-up prompted. Based on my experience, at a time like this, interrogating him would be more meaningful than killing him. So I placed my hand between his broken collarbones and applied pressure. The immense pain made him wail repeatedly. After a moment, I stopped. I said 3 words. "Answer me." The man looked pained. "What do you want me to answer? You know better than I do. Do you want to go through that again?" I said as I reached for his shoulder. He was finally scared. He told me there was a secret inside his headband. I opened it and saw that it was a 1/7 fragment of a treasure map. It detailed all the treasures inside the purple-roofed building of the Marshal Officials Path. And there were a total of 10 treasures. Seeing that I had gotten what I wanted, the man then asked me to give him a quick death. I smiled slightly. "That's simple. I'll hit your paralysis point, then send you on your way with 1 move." But the moment I hit the point, the pop-up prompted again. "Kill him or continue the interrogation." I was speechless. So this guy was still not telling the truth, even when he was at death's door. The scene changes. Looking at the bloodstains on the ground, I let out a long sigh of relief. I had finally collected all the treasure map fragments, but I didn't expect this guy to be so disgusting. Hiding things in the soles of his feet and his crotch is somewhat understandable, but stuffing things in his rear is a bit too much. I looked at the map, then at the yokon in the drawer. If I'm not mistaken, there should be a treasure in this drawer. No wonder this guy was searching for so long. It turns out the treasure wasn't where it was supposed to be. In other words, someone replaced the treasure with yokon to trick others. I must act quickly before they are all taken. I then found the first treasure, sound transmission. Generally speaking, learning a secret manual takes a lot of time, so it can't be used well in this situation. But I'm different. With the invisibility art as a foundation, learning sound transmission is as fast as lightning. The second treasure was found behind the wardrobe. Although this book on poison making is useless for now, there's no harm in learning it. The third treasure was hidden in the ceiling of the roof. The superior grade treasure, Fist Demon Battle Armor. It's a prized possession of the current 34th ranked Liu Zheng Hall Master of the Demonic Cult. It can increase proficiency in the Scorching Palm. So far, I've obtained a total of 3 treasures. One was taken by someone else. I have to act quickly before the remaining treasures are taken by others. Suddenly, as I walked to the corner of the stairs, a clamor came from the next room. I went closer to look and saw 4 people eyeing each other, preparing for a group battle. They were 2 members from the Auxiliary Demon Academy and 2 members from the Red Demon Academy. They are from 2 of the 4 pillars that support the main sect within the demonic cult. The Red Demon Academy has the Supreme Emperor Pavilion and the Wu Tian Pavilion under it, and they're all members of the upper-level squads. Each of them is stronger than the Black Moon Captain, Chi Ming. Right now, the 4 of them are in a stalemate, but the treasure is right beside them. Although my abilities are higher than theirs, they're not so high that I can win easily. Although I could calculate more deeply if their attack and defense power were displayed, the data doesn't appear except in special cases. It seems it won't be easy to take them all out at once. Just then, the battle began. The members of the Red Demon Academy launched the first attack. But logically, I shouldn't rashly engage them now. But I really don't want to just walk away. Without taking risks, I can't become stronger. This is a realization I gained after several deaths. As I was hesitating, the system pop-up suddenly triggered, prompting that a weakness of the Chichong squad member, Tudo, had been found. I unconsciously cursed EW because I was just thinking if that guy named Tudo went down, would a pop-up appear? I didn't expect it to actually appear. I became a little scared again. Is this damn pop-up trying to play me to death? He is the most terrifying, mysterious assassin of the Supreme Emperor Pavilion, and also the next successor whom the Supreme Emperor Pavilion Master has high hopes for. Yet, I recklessly accepted the system's side quest to assassinate him in order to obtain the Heavenly Dragon Pill that would increase my strength. Unexpectedly, at the critical moment of the sneak attack, the item box wouldn't open. He also detected my presence. Forced into a corner, I could only make a tactical retreat. The mysterious man sensed my presence fading into the distance and came out of the room. I thought I was dead for sure. Who knew that the moment I turned back, a pop-up window notified me that I had found his weakness. I was ecstatic. I wanted to use a martial arts skill but I hesitated. The distance was too great. Even if I found a weakness, it wouldn't guarantee success because the opening appeared at a considerable distance. Martial arts are ultimately most effective at close range. In the end, I chose to flash behind the mysterious man. He whipped his head around. In that inescapable moment, the mysterious man surprisingly mounted a defense. He simultaneously leaped up and retreated. Although he dodged my attack, his posture crumbled as he retreated in a panic. This revealed another weakness. I didn't have time to think and directly chose to use a martial arts skill. Instantly, scorching sword energy burst from the tip of my sword, directly inflicting 8,000 points of damage on the mysterious man. Struck by the flames, the mysterious man staggered backward. I didn't have time to check the status bar. Instead, I charged forward frantically, relentlessly attacking with the sushi sword style. The moment our swords clashed, I kicked the mysterious man in the chest. After a full combo, his health dropped by another 410 points. The mysterious man tried to get up, but I gave him no chance. This time, I didn't rush in. Instead, I attacked with the fist wind generated by the demon fist battle armor. The mysterious man had just gotten his feet when he had to dodge sideways again, but he couldn't evade it completely. His health dropped by another 640 points. But that was far from enough. I gritted my teeth and charged forward. I couldn't give him a moment's rest. I used the sushi sword style again to force him back. This time, I added sword wind to the technique. The mysterious man raised his sword to defend again, but he couldn't completely nullify the blade's wind. His health dropped by another 1,100 points. Under normal circumstances, he could have defended completely, but under this near-frenzied assault, he didn't even have a second to breathe. Just then, the pop-up window again notified me that I'd found his weakness. I was ecstatic. The mysterious man hadn't had a single chance to attack. It seemed the battle was about to end, but suddenly, something I had never seen before happened. A weakness window and a warning window appeared at the same time. The mysterious man had also found my weakness. The timers on both status windows were counting down. No matter what, I had to make a choice quickly. Attacking would let me briefly return to 3 seconds ago to turn the tables, and I could also see the enemy's movements. But at the same time, I would still be exposing my own weakness. There was no time left for me to think. I could only make a choice based on instinct. The moment I confirmed the attack and counter, the mysterious man staggered back 2 steps. Just as expected, I successfully returned to 3 seconds ago. I understood that this was both a crisis and an opportunity, so I quickly lowered my body. Because my weakness was still displayed, I could only refrain from attacking and prepare to defend. In an instant, a wave-like aura spread out. Although I didn't see his move clearly, the blood dripping down my face was clearly visible. That powerful sword energy consumed a large amount of the mysterious man's internal energy. If I hadn't chosen to defend then, I would have surely died. But fortunately, with his current internal energy level, it wasn't enough to generate such powerful sword energy again. This meant I had the advantage in stamina and internal energy. The mysterious man looked confused, questioning who on earth I was and how I had such skills. But I just snorted coldly. There was nothing to say to a dead man walking. Then I charged forward fiercely. With each clash, both sides were evenly matched, inflicting damage on each other. But I knew clearly in my heart that although my stamina was higher than the mysterious man's, my internal energy was still relatively insufficient. If he found an opportunity to attack, I would be completely finished. But I had no time to dwell on this. I immediately used the sushi sword style again. After a burst of frantic output, I noticed the gap in internal energy between myself and my opponent was shrinking. If this continued, I might not get another chance to turn the tables. Unexpectedly, just as my focus wavered, he suddenly swung his sword at me. I hurriedly raised my sword to block, but heard no clash of metal. At that moment, I was completely stunned. He wasn't thrusting his sword, but had changed direction, preparing to swing. Although I didn't understand his intention, I knew the principle of striking first. I immediately raised my sword and thrust at his chest, but the mysterious man suddenly took a step back. Had he seen through my intention? Were they all feints? I saw him grin, while my posture collapsed from missing the lunge. In that instant, he seized my weakness. The system also triggered a warning pop-up. As the options appeared, time around me stopped again. There were 3 options, all related to the distance and actions of the enemy. If I chose to fight, I would be very close to the opponent, so without a powerful martial art, getting one shot would be very dangerous. If I chose to flee, although it would be easier to avoid the enemy's attack, I would still get injured by exposing my back. In comparison, defense was a good choice. It could maintain distance and allow me to observe the opponent's movements. So I decisively chose the defense option. Unexpectedly, the moment I confirmed, a heart-wrenching pain instantly spread throughout my body. Although I was prepared, this blow was much faster than I had anticipated. At the same time, due to this attack, my and the mysterious man's stamina values were reversed. At this moment, I had no way to win, while the mysterious man's voice sounded exceptionally confident. I don't know how many treasures you've obtained here to increase your strength, but in the end, this is all you amount to. The mysterious man wasn't bluffing. His combat sense was incredibly sharp, honed through countless real battles. After all, he was in charge of the Supreme Emperor Pavilion's core missions. At the same time, he was guaranteed a promotion among the 6 units. The Black Gold Captain then raised his sword and came before me. The moment the sharp blade swung down, I hastily retreated. Suddenly, his sword energy changed, actually curving as it came towards me. I couldn't dodge in time and was heavily wounded again. My stamina dropped to a critical level. In my blurry vision, I felt something approaching me. Just as the opponent was almost upon me, I instinctively began to move my body, but not towards the enemy. Instead, I jumped out the window. He fell for it, thinking I was trying to escape. In his haste to kill me, he jumped down as well. But suddenly, my vision cleared again. It was because the weakness pop-up appeared, notifying me that I had found the Black Gold Captain's weakness. No matter what situation I was in, it wouldn't affect the appearance of this window. As long as the enemy had a weakness, this window would definitely pop up. This was completely in line with my expectations. But I no longer had the strength to choose attack. I would surely die. So I shifted my gaze to the item box and chose to use the golden sore medicine to restore my stamina. The most important thing now was to survive. In an instant, my stamina value soared. My immobilized body began to move again. As my stamina recovered, I blocked a series of the opponent's attacks with agile movements. Then, both of us landed almost simultaneously. The mysterious man looked at me, full of energy, his face shocked. He wondered, wasn't I on the verge of death just now? What on earth happened? But I just smiled faintly and raised my sword. As the perfect opportunity arrived again, the mysterious man finally fell to the ground. That blow also exhausted my stamina and internal energy. Although I was grateful to have survived, my hand couldn't stop trembling. Objectively speaking, the mysterious man was much stronger than me. I could only say I was lucky in this battle. With the completion of the mission, as compensation, I received a heavenly dragon pill. It could increase my internal energy and stamina to over 10,000. This was a spiritual medicine even more powerful than the treasures in the martial official's path. But before I could be happy, a voice suddenly came from behind. I drew my sword reflexively. Turning around, I saw it was a beautiful woman. I, who was on guard against a sneak attack, was momentarily stunned. It wasn't just because of her appearance, but more so because her combat power far exceeded that of the mysterious man. They are the top hunters under the heavenly demon, sent to the martial official's path late at night to carry out a one-sided slaughter. The one with the strongest combat power among them was a seemingly delicate young lady. But facing the weakling in front of her, she chose not to act. Instead, she gave an inscrutable smile. As she left, she even threw out a line like, "Hope to see you next time." Such inexplicable nonsense. I sat there stunned for a long time, watching her enchanting figure. It wasn't because I was infatuated, but because her stats, which far surpassed the mysterious man's, left me without even the courage to chase after her. Afterward, I went to the woods outside the building to hide, because in my past life, this was where I hid and safely waited for the exam to end. I currently have 2 lives left. I must decide which of these 2 lives to focus on. Right now, all my stats have bottomed out. If I take the Heavenly Dragon pill now, I will gain strength surpassing the mysterious man. But if I were besieged by those Dawn Hunters, the chance of survival will be almost 0. If I wanted to get another Heavenly Dragon pill, I might not be so lucky. Helpless, I set aside the troublesome problem for now. First, I'll put the full demon battle armor into the item box. Although it doesn't quite suit me, who is skilled with a sword, it has helped me through several crises after all. Also, this 8 Emperor's full body armor is already in tatters, so there's no need to put it in the item box. Oh, and the shadow-severing sword. Just as I was about to open the item box to check, it didn't react at all. In an instant, the hair on my neck stood up. The reason the item box wouldn't open must be that someone had detected my presence, and with hostile intent. At the same time, I faintly heard a voice. I didn't expect a fish to have slipped through the net here. As soon as the voice fell, a fierce sword energy slashed straight towards the tree hollow. I hurriedly jumped to dodge. Taking a closer look, it was indeed one of the Dawn Hunters. He was carrying a large saber on his shoulder. He is Gao Yu, the captain of the Red Demon Courtyard's 7 Dragon team. Although his combat power is on par with the mysterious man's, in my current physical state, I'm afraid I can't escape death. Gao Yu bared his teeth and chuckled. What are your eyes darting around for? Thinking of a way to live? You're going to die no matter what, anyway. As he spoke, he raised the large saber in his hand. He was right. Even if I was going to be killed, I had to give it my all. I immediately drew my precious sword and infused it with internal energy, preparing for a desperate fight. But suddenly my body felt tripped by something. Looking up, it was a warning pop-up. Gao Yu has discovered your weakness. How will you respond? Could it be because the difference in strength is too great? I was the one who initiated the attack, but an unfavorable status window appeared before I even swung my sword. So, based on past experience, I chose to defend. The moment I confirmed, he appeared before me at an astonishing speed. He immediately landed a fierce kick on my chest, but he had no intention of stopping at all. Immediately after, he struck my back fiercely with his foot. A pop-up notified me that this blow dealt 235 points of damage. My health bar dropped to a critical level. I trembled, trying to get up, but at this point, I didn't even have the strength to hold my sword. Gao Yu could have just left me there to die, but he insisted on coming forward to humiliate me before he would stop. He then squatted down, grabbed my hair, and pulled it upward. A piece of trash like you can only become fertilizer for my back garden. Then, while shaking my head, he continued to taunt, "When I step on you, you get stepped on. When I hit you, you get hit." Powerless, I could only listen, without a shred of strength to resist. Even in the moment before death, I was thinking about why I had to become strong. I had to struggle to my feet, even in filthy wastewater, or else I would die if I stopped. Unexpectedly, in that instant, the precious sword in my hand emitted a faint blue fiery light. At the same time, a pop-up was triggered. Use the Great Bow Sword. I stared blankly at the text on the pop-up, wondering if I had misread it. Right now, both my stamina and internal energy were depleted. Forget killing someone, even holding the sword was a struggle. Unexpectedly, my body started moving on its own. A massive sword energy surged out like a waterfall. This passively activated move dealt a staggering 20,000 points of damage to Gao Yu. The method to use the Great Bow Sword was actually the sequence of shaking my head. Caught completely off guard, Gao Yu, who had taken a fatal blow, gasped for breath. At the same time, with an expression of disbelief, he questioned how I did it. Although his face looked like he'd eaten shit, he was actually lucky to be alive. If I hadn't been out of stamina and unable to use my full power, he would have been dead long ago. I didn't answer his question. Instead, I told him he was doomed. After all, with such a heavy injury, I'm sure the other hunters won't let you go either. Gao Yu gritted his teeth in anger. He hastily raised his large saber, preparing to fight me again. But at this point, my vision was already starting to blur. The strength in my hand vanished, and even my sword fell to the ground. I was already content with this life. After all, I had the Heavenly Dragon Pill and had learned how to use the Great Bow Sword. But for some reason, the pop-up appeared again. I had actually found Gao Yu's weakness. But forget fighting, I didn't even have the strength to hold my sword now. I was already in a state of certain death. But in an instant, a hypothesis flashed through my mind. There was still a thunderclap bomb stored in the item box. The moment I chose to use it, my body, not under my conscious control, threw that thunderclap bomb at Gao Yu. Meanwhile, I was curled up beside a protruding rock, witnessing the spectacular scene through my blurry vision. Flames instantly turned the surroundings into a sea of fire, and the sound of the explosion was enough to shake the earth. I hadn't expected its power to be so immense. Gao Yu's body was sent flying by the blast, and the explosion had avoided me. It turned out the thunderclap bomb's damage could avoid its user. But with such heavy injuries, I wouldn't live for much longer either. so I desperately tried to crawl towards Gaoyu to collect some loot. He was so close. It would be too much of a waste of the thunderclap bomb if I couldn't get something. I thought of the half-eaten lamb stomach in my item box. After eating it, my stamina didn't increase much, but it was quite helpful for me as I gritted my teeth and crawled. Just as my stamina dropped to 1 point again, I finally obtained what I wanted. I immediately put everything into the item box. Having arranged everything, I finally breathed a sigh of relief and waited for death to come. But just then my eyes shot open, because I hadn't retrieved the shadow-severing sword I had used. I struggled to raise my hand and reach for the shadow-severing sword, but it was too late. As my stamina hit 0, those familiar words once again covered my vision. When I opened my eyes again, my body had returned to Chapter 2 of the 95th year of the heavenly calendar. The 3 lives offered by Kuan Mo. This was my last chance at rebirth. Along with Kuan Mo's voice, the surroundings brightened. I was very familiar with these 3 options. Just like in my last life, I again chose to become Kuan Mo's core warrior. But this time, I didn't follow the original plot. Instead, I posed a question. Lord Kuan Mo, if there were a spy by your side, how should it be handled? Although I knew this was risky, it was necessary to make things clear here. He didn't seem to mind. He said that if I learned any clues about the spy on the way to the martial official's path, I should report to him anytime. He would be in the Luyuan Palace then. Luyuan Palace is the back garden where the heavenly demon's disciples rest. Ordinary warriors within the cult cannot get near that place. Approaching without reason would result in immediate execution. Suddenly, he stopped and smiled faintly. Of course, it would be best if you could capture him. Afterward, I came to the underground library to wait for Juyun. I mentioned the spy to Kuan Mo precisely to avoid going to the martial official's path. It seems my roundabout tactic worked, although the martial official's path still has many tempting treasures. The Dawn Hunters are incredibly strong. The path of the martial official's path exam is too dangerous. I should first capture the spy, Juyun. But before that, my primary task was to analyze the item box. In my last life, because I died, all the spiritual medicines I had consumed turned to nothing. My stamina and internal energy also reverted to their saved state. Fortunately, before I died, I got some loot from Gaoyu. Besides weapons, there were also some spiritual medicines that could increase my strength. I took them all at once, including the Heavenly Dragon Pill. In an instant, my stamina and internal energy both rose to a staggering 20,000 or more. These unprecedented numbers made me feel like I had broken through my physical limits. At the same time, the enhancement of my senses was also very obvious. I could even clearly hear the sound of someone walking on the roof, the sound of picking things up, and even a cough. It also brought a special ability, mind reading. It upgraded from imitation to basic. Finally, I drew my precious sword and, following the head-shaking method from my previous life, directly swung out the great bow sword. The chi, condensed from blue particles, erupted violently, creating a powerful explosion in an instant. I guarantee this life will be completely different from before. Although it's powerful, it also has a fatal weakness. The wind-up time during activation is too long. An enemy won't just wait obediently to die. Just as I was thinking about how to simplify the steps, Tu Hong suddenly walked in. He had an impatient look on his face. It seems the noise I just made swinging my sword was too loud and disturbed him. He looked around at the destroyed bookshelves and books with a displeased expression. But that wasn't important to me at all, because my attention was drawn to the life symbol above his head. Just as I was about to make a move, the word request in his status bar caught my attention. Please become Tu Hong's dog. Completing the mission can upgrade your combat type. Tu Hong opened his mouth and spat a mouthful of food at me. A flash of irritation appeared in my eyes. When Tu Hong spat out food again, I couldn't help but clench my fists. But reason told me I couldn't act now. It would be very simple to snap his neck right now, but I had to consider the chain reaction that would occur after killing him. So I couldn't let any variables disrupt my plan. My first goal in this life is to kill Juyun. So I hurriedly bowed in apology and said I would repair the damaged things in the library as soon as possible. But this time, Tu Hong spat something else out. It wasn't food, but a sticky liquid. He grinned and said he'd been too bored lately. The people coming in and out of here always annoyed him. Then he took another step towards me, a wicked smile on his face like a creepy uncle. Let's get closer from now on, Shuehui. Ha ha ha. In an instant, killing intent surged in my eyes. I can't take this anymore. I might as well just kill him. When a man's anger from humiliation reaches its peak, It becomes his personal stage for a killing spree. But this time, he decided to let the administrator before him live a few more days. Only because he had accepted a mission that would make him stronger upon completing the system's instance. But I soon regretted it. Not only did he call me out at night to clean the toilets until dawn, this morning he made me clean the feces in the toilet again. I swear, once I complete this mission, I will kill him in an extremely cruel way. Fortunately, I completed one task while cleaning the toilets last night. Now I just need to finish cleaning up this feces, and it'll be over. Although there are only a few left, I imagine it won't be too easy. I wonder what kind of item the system reward will be. I really hope it's worth all my hard work. Suddenly, the sound of a wooden door shaking came from above. Looking up, I saw it was the administrator of the Heavenly Sun Pass's third floor. I hurriedly told him someone was here, but the damn administrator completely ignored me. He just glanced back at me before pulling his pants all the way down. Immediately after, he exposed his horrifying lower body. Watching certain things gush out like a waterfall, killing intent began to surge madly in my eyes. Afterward, I rushed to the lake to wash my body. As I washed, I rehearsed in my mind how to kill those two old bastards. First, I'd beat them up fiercely, then shove their heads into the feces and stomp on them wildly until they stopped breathing. But for some reason, even though I'd almost scrubbed my skin raw, I could still smell a faint stench. Right now, I can only vent my frustration wildly where no one can see. After bathing, I returned to the library of the Heavenly Sun Pass. As soon as I entered, I saw the two of them exchanging flirtatious glances. Although I really wanted to beat them up right now for the sake of the system reward, I had to endure it a little longer. So I gritted my teeth and forced a smile. The task you assigned me is cleaned up. A pop-up immediately notified me. 2 of 8 total tasks completed. You did a good job. Go prepare some bathwater for the two of us. I quickly lowered my head and said I would go fetch water now. Who knew that just as I was about to turn and leave, the other old man suddenly added, "Are your hands clean? They can't smell, you know." I gritted my teeth and answered quietly, "Rest assured, I'll wash them very clean." At this moment, my internal energy was surging wildly, reaching an irrepressible state. Suddenly, the two leisurely old men stood up in a panic. They then went to greet someone at the door with terrified expressions. My gaze naturally turned as well. There stood the Dawn Hunter I met in my previous life. I wonder why she was here. Compared to when we met in my past life, her ability values were lower. It seems she hasn't received the mission to go to the martial official's path yet. She came this time to pay respects to Lord Kuan-Mo. She learned that he had gone to Luyuan Palace, and she shifted her gaze to me. Who is this young man? I don't think I've seen him before. Tu Hong reported in a low voice. He was sent by the Supreme Emperor Pavilion to manage the underground warehouse here. He's an insignificant fellow. You don't need to pay him any mind. Then she shifted her gaze, casting a subtle light on me. Although his background is humble, he seems quite interesting. At this moment, my cheeks flushed slightly. It was the same when we met in my last life. Just looking at her made me feel like my heart was about to stop. Then she came before me and asked my name. Although I don't know why you came to this underground warehouse. Suddenly, the conversation was interrupted. She covered her nose and mouth, probably having smelled something. After coughing twice, the conversation continued. But I think there must be a reason, right? I suppressed the anger in my heart. This foul smell just wouldn't wash off. It was all because of those two old bastards. Then, Xiaoling waved goodbye. I couldn't help but raise my hand as well. Then I was startled not just because I was glaring at the two old men, but because of these overly presumptuous multiple choice questions in the pop-up. Looking at these terrible options, I could only silently protest in my heart. As the countdown was about to end, I could only choose the lesser of two evils and pick a less presumptuous option. Would you like to meet with me? The moment I confirmed, the surroundings began to brighten. I held my breath, wanting to know what her reaction would be. I ignored the expressions of the two old men for the time being. Who knew that Xiaoling would show a faint smile? I was right. You really are an interesting person. I didn't expect her to show no hostility after hearing such an unreasonable thing. But before I could breathe a sigh of relief, the system pop-up triggered again, forcing me to choose one of the remaining two options. This is crazy. Just like that time with Kuan-Mo, it was an unavoidable multiple choice question. Until now, I had always chosen the option that was slightly better than the worst. But in the end, it always turned into the worst case scenario. and the worst-case scenario often turned out to be the best option. This only holds true under the assumption that all options must be chosen. In the end, I decided to go all out like a man this time. Would you be willing to spend a wonderful night with me? The moment I confirmed, Xiao Ling's face instantly stiffened. In my opinion, her reaction was normal. Anyone would have thought I was a madman. To ease the awkwardness, I quickly spoke up. I know a normal person wouldn't say something like this. Every day, I struggle to live a better day, but in the end, I'm still like this. Just now, I couldn't even make a sound when I was splashed with feces. That's why I said such a blunt thing, even though I knew it was impossible. Because I want to find a reason to live. Although it might offend you, meeting you is already my greatest. Without fortune, perhaps it was because of this life of repeatedly being killed and reborn that I suddenly felt sad. At first, I only started talking to lessen her anger. But later, I didn't even know what I was saying myself. It was like I was venting my innermost emotions. But her unexpected reply made me unable to believe my ears. I'm in a pretty good mood. Was she being serious? She actually wasn't angry after hearing all that. As I panicked, her voice reached my ears again. I just think you're a bit too frank. After hearing my words, the two old men's expressions became extremely twisted. Do you know who this lady is? How dare you spout such nonsense? Please calm down, my lady. I'll go tear this guy's mouth apart right now. Unexpectedly, as soon as the words were out, he was instantly taken down by Xiao Ling. It happened so fast, I didn't even see her move. In the moment she brushed past me, I heard her whisper in a tiny voice, "You must become strong as you wish. Then escape from this hell with me." After saying that, she turned and left. At that moment, I felt it. Because of this choice, my past life and future had both changed. Because a word I had never seen before that appeared above Xiao Ling's head. Afterward, I continued to complete the instance mission. I washed the bedsheets while rubbing my swollen cheek. Because after Xiao Ling left, I had to endure the punches and kicks of the two old men. My lower body is still aching faintly. I finished washing all the clothes and bedsheets, hanging them one by one on the clothesline. Then I opened my toolbox and smiled faintly with satisfaction. Inside was the Pluto battle armor, which increases defense, the white mist orb that obstructs vision, and the book of swordplay comprehension that increases sword skill proficiency. I never thought these two old men would hide such good things in their room. As payment for cleaning, I'll reluctantly accept them. Right now, I have completed half of the instance mission. In a few more days, the instance will be fully completed. It won't matter if they find out then, because they won't be alive to find out. I looked up at the sky and thought of her smile again. Although my power is still weak now, I will definitely become strong. When the opportunity comes, I will leave the demonic cult with that woman named Xiao Ling. When a man's desire to become stronger reaches its peak, he can accept any unreasonable demand. Only because I accepted the instance mission given by the pop-up. As long as I complete the 8 commands given by Tu Hong, I can upgrade my combat type. So, after 6 days of a hellish life, I finally completed 7 of Tu Hong's instructions. But this last item was something I truly didn't expect. It was to tie me to a cross and use me as their human punching bag. The two old men had learned a set of fist techniques from somewhere, and both insisted that their moves were the most authentic. To show off to the other, Tu Hong placed his fists on his waist, adjusted his breathing, then shouted and threw a punch. Tied up tightly, I was like a punching bag, taking all of his attacks. After a few hard punches, he pulled back his fist and caught his breath. I naively thought that was the end of it. I didn't expect the mustache man on the side to want to show off as well. His tireless jabs were heavy and fast. So much so that I almost couldn't stop myself from crying out. Looking at the numbers on the pop-up, I silently prayed for it to end quickly. Just then, his kicking technique suddenly became strange. It seemed he was aiming for my crotch. I shouted, "Stop!" But before the words were out, a pain that pierced to the bone shot through my whole body. At this moment, my mind went blank. I didn't know how to comfort my lower body. Now, I've lost interest in the mission reward given by the system. If I don't beat them up right now, I won't be able to quell the hatred in my heart. So, facing another punch coming from Tu Hong, I decisively chose to dodge. The two old men looked at me with surprised eyes. Had I been beaten stupid? To think I still dare to dodge. Just then, the number I had been longing for finally filled up. The long-awaited combat type reward appeared before me. One was turn-based combat. The other was AI combat, but I couldn't understand what these two options were. Unexpectedly, just as I opened the details page, the mustache man's fist was already coming at me. Not only did I not dodge, but I felt unusually excited. I broke free from the ropes and simultaneously caught the incoming fist. These 6 hellish days, I will return them in full. The mustached man's expression froze instantly. Just then, I lifted my right foot and kicked him between the legs. I instantly felt 2 firm things shatter into being curd dregs. His scream was proof enough. Instantly, Tuhon also pounced from behind, but his punching speed was too slow. I just casually threw a punch and knocked him down, foaming at the mouth. A pop-up immediately notified me of Tuhong's death. I was startled at first, then quickly grabbed his collar to check the situation. I had originally planned to take my revenge and torture him for days. I didn't expect this old geezer to be so fragile. In my panic, the pop-up on the left caught my attention. It was the turn-based combat details page that I had just opened but hadn't had time to read. When the user shows an opening or senses a crisis, a window will automatically pop up. At that time, the surrounding time will stop flowing. You can also select according to the attack type. The advantage is increased efficiency, and you can use items. The disadvantage is that when there are many enemies, it may not activate or time may not stop. In comparison, the AI intervention method is much simpler. The user hands over their body to the system and then watches the battle from a distance. But the disadvantages are not only that you can't use items, but also that once the system takes control of the body, you can only wait until the result is out. You cannot intervene midway. Although the second option seemed cooler, how would it fight? Watching the mustached man get up from the ground, I curiously activated the artificial intelligence. In an instant, I separated from my body and floated high into the air to look down. I watched as the mustached man charged at my body, but remained motionless with its head down. Had the system malfunctioned? I couldn't do anything now, only watch helplessly as my body was about to take damage. Fortunately, the moment the palm strike was about to land, it opened its eyes. Then, with a backflip kick, the mustached man died on the spot. That skilled and precise martial art left me exceptionally surprised. It defeated the opponent without even using a powerful strike. But it wasn't over yet. I was still floating in midair. Taking a closer look, it was actually the director of the Heavenly Sun Pass. He glanced at the administrator lying on the ground, then looked up and questioned, "What are you doing here?" But AI Shui Hui stood there, calm and composed. I was very curious how it would handle this. This director of the Heavenly Sun Pass, although his combat power was below mine, was not someone who could be dealt with so easily. The opponent was holding a sword, while my body was barehanded. Just as the opponent was about to draw his sword, the system made the first move. It pushed off with its heels and immediately rushed toward the target. This was a bit risky, but speed is paramount in war. The director seemed to have noticed AI Shui Hui's attack direction. He found an attack point that was both offensive and defensive and thrust straight out. The speed for drawing the sword to thrusting was like a flash of lightning. AI Shui Hui didn't back down. It had already anticipated the opponent's move. After dodging sideways, it immediately created distance again. It seemed it had no intention of getting close in the first place. Unexpectedly, it rushed forward again to launch a fierce attack. Just like last time, it dodged and retreated again. But this time, AI Shui Hui didn't completely avoid it, and a slight scratch was left on its face. The more I watched, the more anxious I became. This kind of meaningless, reckless behavior was something I truly couldn't understand. But since the target wasn't eliminated, I couldn't intervene. Just then, AI Shui Hui launched its third attack, rushing in the same direction as the previous 2 times. Feeling humiliated, the director swung his sword with force. "What do you take me for?" Although this swing was much fiercer than before, Shui Hui, who quickly lowered its body, perfectly dodged it. It then supported itself with both hands on the ground and sent out its right foot, fiercely striking the director's abdomen. Along with a scream, Shui Hui adjusted its posture again. At an astonishing speed, it used a roundhouse kick to hit the director's chin. Immediately after, he collapsed to the ground with a thud, even dropping the sword in his hand. I was dumbfounded watching this scene. Suddenly, a pop-up asked how to deal with the director. I didn't expect AI Shui Hui to give the choice to me. I immediately chose to kill him on the spot. AI Shui Hui then snapped the director's neck. I couldn't help but sigh in amazement. Not because I had defeated the director, but because the fighting style and tactics were so beyond my expectations. More importantly, the AI intervention had ended. The entire battle only consumed 12 stamina points, and no internal energy was used at all. This wasn't a matter of winning or losing, but a fighting style I had never imagined. If it were me, I'm afraid it would have been very difficult to achieve. After disposing of the 3 bodies, I returned to the library. Having killed the administrator Tu Hong, my chances of rebirth also increased to 2. Right now, as long as I capture Zhu Yun, I can gain Lord Kuan Mo's trust. But just in case, I open my item box and put on the heavenly silver armor. At the same time, I also raise my martial arts by 1 level. Finally, I switch the combat mode to turn-based. Now, to capture the spy Zhu Yun, I am fully prepared. In the blink of an eye, the day to enter the 5 passes path arrived. Just as I was examining my combat style, a pop-up suddenly appeared, notifying me that an important node was completed. Oh, you want to save? I chose to save without hesitation. Although nothing special had happened, there must be a reason for this pop-up to appear. Immediately after, the title of the save file appeared on the panel. After failing the 5 passes path, the final opponent. If what the system said was true, I participated in the 5 passes path exam, but didn't pass. But this so-called final opponent was something I couldn't understand. Just then, a dark figure walked in. Taking a closer look, it was indeed Zhu Yun. Could this be the final opponent the pop-up mentioned? Just like in my previous life, he handed over the Fei Ju pill. I took the pill and swallowed it naturally. The effect of the spirit pill immediately appeared on the panel. After finishing it, my gaze turned to Zhu Yun again. That aren't you going to give me the flying dragon pill? I heard from Kuan Mo that you have a flying dragon pill here. Please hand it over. His expression seemed a little displeased, but he still reluctantly took out the flying dragon pill from his robes. After taking it, I quickly consumed it. If it's like my previous life, after taking the flying dragon pill, I will be hit by his heavy punch. Back then, his movements were too fast for me to see clearly. But it's different now. My strength has increased significantly. I can easily catch a punch even heavier than that. What are you doing? Did the first disciple approve of you acting so rashly? At this moment, along with the absorption of the flying dragon pill, my mind-reading skill also upgraded from the basic stage to elementary. Not only could I clearly see my own combat power, but even Zhu Yun's was fully visible. I believed I could easily defeat him this time, but in the next second, I regretted it. Previously, because my mind-reading skill level was too low, I couldn't check his combat power. Now that the mind-reading skill has upgraded to the elementary stage, I can finally see his combat power. It was an astonishing 190,000. The mysterious wolf's combat power was only 70,000. He was actually even stronger than the Dawn Hunter. The oppressive feeling of him being 90,000 stronger than me was suffocating. Suddenly, a pop-up issued a warning, indicating that Zhu Yun had discovered my opening. In this situation, choosing a frontal attack was no different from suicide. There was also nowhere to run. I could only brace myself and choose to defend. In an instant, Zhu Yun attacked me at an unimaginable speed. I desperately twisted my body to dodge the attack, finally managing to create some distance from him. But before I could even catch my breath, the opening pop-up appeared again. The power gap is too wide. In my panic, I had no time to think and could only helplessly choose to flee. In the end, I still suffered a critical hit from him. My stamina also decreased by a third. The huge power gap made it impossible for me to see his movements. Plus, I couldn't use the Great Uncle Sword. Even though my stamina and internal energy were high, I was still at a disadvantage. The only thing I could use to fight him now was my stamina and internal energy. So I scrambled to my feet, preparing to fight him with the swift absorption demonic art. When he saw the sword energy emanating from my precious sword, Zhu Yun's expression was a little surprised. But he didn't back down, instead blocking my gale-like sword technique head-on. After blocking, Zhu Yun quickly retracted his sword to slash. Instantly, his face turned pale. At the same time, the cold air released by the swift absorption demonic art seemed to slow him down. But despite this, Zhu Yun still blocked all of my attacks. I was convinced that the swift absorption demonic art would definitely work. I just had to keep pressing him hard. Unexpectedly, at this moment, the system pop-up triggered again. Zhu Yun has discovered your opening. I didn't understand. Every move I made was steady and solid. Why would an opening of mine still appear? I didn't want to run away anymore. I decisively chose the first confront option. Instantly, I was filled with rage and charged straight at Zhu Yun with my sword. But just then, the tip of his sword emitted a dazzling red light. Before I could even react, he had already pierced my shoulder. At the same time, my stamina dropped significantly. I fell to my knees with a thud. I watched helplessly as he walked up to me and raised his fist. As that heavy punch fell, my vision gradually blurred. At the same time, a line of text I had never seen before appeared before my eyes, informing me that I had fainted. I entered a state where I couldn't move. The man had been fully confident he could take down the opponent before him. But after his mind-reading skill upgraded, he was shocked to discover that the opponent's power level was as high as 190,000. This huge gap ultimately led to the man's defeat. After taking a few slaps to the face, I finally slowly opened my eyes. In an instant, a piercing pain and a dull sensation flooded my entire body. Right now, I was severely injured. I didn't know what terrible things would happen next. Looking up, I saw a dark figure slowly walking towards me. A pop-up indicated he was the ghost, demon lord of the Red Demon Courtyard, an ally of the Heavenly Demon's first disciple. But as he got closer, I realized he was actually the examiner for the yin character in the martial official path. The one who killed me, there was this foot-picking brute. But the two words incite above his head confused me, and he started by asking some strange questions. Who sent you? If you can answer my questions properly, I can give you an easy death. I looked up blankly, not understanding what he was saying at all. The ghost demon lord seemed to have expected this. Looks like he won't talk unless I use some methods. He then placed his hand on my injured shoulder and injected his internal energy. Instantly, an indescribable pain shot through my body. This was the dislocating joints and tearing tendons technique commonly used by the demonic cult. It brings extreme pain to the person being interrogated. Fortunately, he quickly withdrew his internal energy, giving me a brief moment of respite. I'll ask you one more time. Who sent you? As a mere squad captain of the Supreme Emperor Pavilion, yet possessing such profound strength, you must have a backer. Barely conscious, I looked up and smiled faintly at your right. The master of the Supreme Emperor Pavilion sent me. As soon as the words left my mouth, he started his dislocating joints and tearing tendons technique again. This time it lasted a little longer than the first, so painful that I passed out. But it was immediately followed by a loud slap. How can you pass out? Wake the hell up for me. We have plenty of time to play. Although my body was now covered in wounds, my eyes grew brighter. Aren't you getting it backwards? If you don't silence me before the 5 passes path, you're the ones who won't be able to report back, right? At this moment, the ghost demon lord's expression changed subtly. Why do you think so? Because Kuan-Mo will come looking for me. That's why you're stopping me from passing the exam. Why would we do that? Hearing this, I revealed a wicked smile, because I know the secret of the master of the Supreme Emperor Pavilion. These words left the ghost, demon lord, speechless that you're hilarious. What the hell does you knowing the secret of the master of the Supreme Emperor Pavilion have to do with us? I chuckled, do you really not know? Or are you trying to test me? Just admit it bravely. You're in league with the master of the Supreme Emperor Pavilion. At the same time, the spy sent by the first disciple is interrogating me. This is enough to prove you're all in this together, including colluding with the righteous martial arts sects, Jiuzhongming. This time, they finally reacted. It seems I guessed correctly. They all have the symbol for hostility above their heads. There's only one reason for this. I've become a threat to the first disciple, Mo. I haven't done anything that could threaten Mo, nor do I have that kind of ability. It seems I've threatened their ally, the master of the Supreme Emperor Pavilion. Although he discovered that I stole the secret map, he's not sure if I've revealed the secret to Kuan-Mo. That's why they tied me up in this remote cave for interrogation. Unexpectedly, as my analysis reached this point, a pop-up suddenly appeared. Congratulations, host, for using your excellent insight to perceive the first disciple's intentions. You have received insight points as a system reward. You can choose one of your existing martial arts to upgrade to a higher level. But before I could be happy, their third accomplice appeared in the cave. It seemed he had been listening nearby all along. When I saw his face clearly, I wasn't surprised at all. It was the bodyguard of the master of the Supreme Emperor Pavilion, me. Seeing that they couldn't get any useful information out of me, he no longer had any reason to hide that, you're more interesting than I thought. But there's no need to listen anymore. Regardless of whether the martial official path exam is over, as long as you pose a threat to Lord Mo, you will be killed without question. Along with that flash of crimson sword light, my vision that was once again blocked by that familiar line of text. Immediately after, my body flashed, and I was back in the library. Through this death, I learned one thing. It's absolutely impossible for me to be accepted into the martial official path. At the same time, no matter what, I must fight Zhu Yun. Judging from the combat style of AI, Shui Hui I saw before, it's much stronger than fighting myself. So I changed from turn-based to the artificial intelligence combat mode. At the same time, I opened my item box and equipped myself with the Pluto battle armor and the 5 Spirits blade. I also hid a poison dagger in my robes and placed a white soul grenade on the table. Because you can't open the item box when using the AI combat mode, I prepared all this in advance. It was to let AI Shui Hui seek the best solution during the battle. This is my last chance to be reborn, so I must win this fight. Suddenly, I remember the insight I gained in my previous life. Just as I was about to check its usage details, Zhu Yun walked in. When he saw me, he looked curious and questioned why I was holding a blade. But before I could react, the artificial intelligence had already intervened. The battle was about to begin. I suddenly realized I had made a mistake. AI Shui Hui can't speak. I should have gotten the spirit pills and taken them first, then started the fight. My chances of winning would have been higher that way. Just then, Zhu Yun asked that question again that I asked you why you're holding a blade here. Are you deaf? At this moment, my heart sank. Unexpectedly, in the next second, AI Shui Hui actually spoke, because I was just training. If I don't hold a blade, should I hold a mop? This sentence left Zhu Yun with no reason to refute. He then handed over the Fei Zhu pill. AI Shui Hui took the pill and swallowed it in one gulp. Zhu Yun turned around and said faintly, "Follow me." Hearing Zhu Yun's words, Shui Hui didn't follow. Instead, it directly asked him for the other flying dragon pill. I thought the AI could only fight. I didn't expect it could not only speak, but also make judgments beneficial to itself. Zhu Yun turned back with a displeased look, the exact same reaction as in the previous life. Next would be the moment he throws a punch. I was really looking forward to how AI Shui Hui would handle it. After getting the pill, AI Shui Hui quickly launched an attack. Noticing something was wrong, Zhu Yun reacted very quickly, lowering his body while swiftly turning left and retreating. After creating distance, Zhu Yun looked puzzled, questioning if Shui Hui had gone mad. Unexpectedly, Shui Hui gave him no chance to breathe, continuing to attack Zhu Yun fiercely. This time it wasn't a simple thrust, but the proper swift absorption demonic art. Shui Hui continued its fierce assault, but Zhu Yun showed no intention of retreating, blocking all of Shui Hui's attacks every time. Watching from midair, my heart was in my throat. Was it going to attack blindly like last time? Facing Zhu Yun, whose combat power was far above its own, blind attacks simply wouldn't work, because I had already tested it in my previous life. Suddenly, I saw an incredible scene. The hand Shui Hui was holding the blade with wasn't its right, but its left, and that motion created a completely unexpected situation. Using the great bow sword, instantly, a dazzling blue light erupted from the blade's tip. This unbelievable sword energy made Zhu Yun unable to believe his eyes. With the explosion of sword energy, Zhu Yun was also sent flying over 10 meters, crashing into a wall. I didn't expect that the great bow sword could be used with a blade, and it even connected the moves so naturally. It seems its wind-up animation was already calculated during the battle. Unexpectedly, just then, Zhu Yun scrambled to his feet. Although he had already lost an arm, his voice was still calm and composed. Not only is your swordsmanship extraordinary, but you also possess internal energy. Tell me, how did you do it? Seeing that Shui Hui didn't answer, Zhu Yun had no choice but to take out the shadow-severing sword, preparing to beat Shui Hui down before interrogating it slowly. He leaped up and instantly arrived in front of Shui Hui. In a situation where defense seemed impossible, Shui Hui actually dodged and retreated with ease. While creating distance, it instantly used the explosive heat art. A blaze then erupted from the blade's tip, thrusting straight at Zhu Yun. But Zhu Yun still managed to escape, with only a few sparks left on his clothes. Zhu Yun's face was extremely grim. He had never encountered such a difficult opponent. He then pushed off with his heels, leaping above Shui Hui's head to end the fight quickly. But he ended up brushing past Shui Hui. Shui Hui used its agile movements to jump towards the wall. Then, using the momentum, it jumped again, leaping straight over Zhu Yun to get behind him. Following the arc of the jump, a fine line of sword energy cut through the air, once again heavily injuring Zhu Yun. This powerful adaptability and control left me completely stunned. Juya no longer had his previous composure. Instead, his face was filled with panic. I thought victory was certain this time. But just then, cracks appeared on Shui Hui's blade. Immediately after, it shattered all over the floor. It seems this blade couldn't withstand the power of the great bow sword. This scene was also seen by Ju Yun. His dim eyes suddenly brightened. Kuinimo also told me to give you the sword, but now it seems it's a good thing I didn't. Looks like my luck isn't so bad today. At this moment, I started muttering to myself, damn it, I should have definitely asked for the shadow-severing sword. But it was too late for regrets now. Suddenly, Shui Hui spoke again that you're such an idiot. How dare you mention the word luck in front of me? At this point, I couldn't believe my own ears. The AI actually started cursing. You moron. You better listen carefully to what I say next. Your moves and footwork are so slow, I can't even watch. If you don't believe me, try attacking me. I'll crush your head directly. After hearing Shui Hui's words, I felt very strange. It was as if another personality had entered my body. But these words severely wounded Ju Yun's pride. He charged forward recklessly, determined to beat the Shui Hui before him into a pulp. Although he was now severely injured, his combat power was still not inferior to Shui Hui's. This went on for a few minutes. Shui Hui didn't want to play this game of cat and mouse anymore. Taking advantage of a gap as Ju Yun gave chase, it threw out the white soul grenade. Along with a loud bang, Ju Yun was once again heavily injured. Just as he was about to get up and fight again, a hidden weapon suddenly flew out from the smoke and dust, hitting his shoulder. The weapon was coated with poison. In an instant, the poison spread rapidly, causing Ju Yun's whole body to tremble. If the poison isn't neutralized immediately, he will surely die from it soon. I must bring Ju Yun to Kuin Mo alive to resolve the current situation. But the fight wasn't over. AI Shui Hui picked up the broken short blade from the ground and then walked up to Ju Yun. Half conscious, he stiffly raised a hand, as if wanting to say something. But AI Shui Hui paid him no mind, instead revealing a smile full of killing intent. It then pressed down on his head with one hand and raised the short blade with the other. Watching this seemingly out-of-control Shui Hui, I was helpless and could only roar in midair. The man had wanted to use artificial intelligence to defeat the opponent before him. Unexpectedly, the body controlled by the system seemed to have gone completely out of control. But the spy, Ju Yun, had to be brought before Kuin Mo alive to be of any value. Just as the sharp blade was about to fall, the long-awaited system pop-up finally appeared. How do you want to deal with Ju Yun? At this moment, I finally breathed a long sigh of relief. I decisively chose to knock him out. The moment I confirmed, I regained control of my body. I didn't dare to delay for a second. The first thing I did was quickly open my item box to take out the antidote, then forcefully stuffed it into the dying Ju Yun's mouth. At the same time, I didn't forget to put the shadow-severing sword back into the item box. There was still some distance to Luyuan Palace. There were many people along the way, so to avoid drawing attention, I found a large sack and stuffed Ju Yun inside. Wrapped in the sack, Ju Yun seemed to have sobered up a bit, but with just one punch, he would quickly quiet down. Then I continued towards Luyuan Palace. Just then, a guard blocked my path. He was just a minor gatekeeper of Luyuan Palace, but his combat power value was astonishingly high. He immediately shouted and questioned what I was doing. When he heard I was here to see the fourth disciple, Kuin Mo, his expression quickly softened. He then turned to announce my arrival. But suddenly, a hint of killing intent flashed in his eyes. If you dare lie to me, I will definitely take your life. After waiting for a short while, I saw the guard again. After getting permission, I finally carried the sack and walked in. This was the largest garden on the outskirts of the building complex. Looking up slightly, you could see the snow-covered heavenly mountain range. It belonged neither to the 5 pavilions nor the 9 halls. It was an independent palace, a place where only the heavenly demon and his disciples could reside. But for some reason, the closer I got to Kuin Mo's residence, the more I felt that something was wrong, because the guard had told me that Kuin Mo was currently receiving a guest. Sure enough, as I got closer, a familiar face made me freeze on the spot. It was the heavenly demon's first disciple, Sha Mo. The other disciples were also there. The panel only showed that their bodies were normal without displaying any values. Kuin Mo saw my confused expression and immediately asked the reason for my visit, because in his view, I should be at the 5 passes path exam at this time. A chill ran down my spine. Julian on my back was a spy sent here by the first disciple, Sha Mo. I had intended to present Julian to Kuan Mo, but Sha Mo just had to be here too. Seeing that I didn't answer, Kuan Mo's voice grew a little louder. I'm asking you a question. Why are you here? At this moment, the lazy second disciple suddenly sat up straight. What's wrong, junior brother? Who made you so angry? But as soon as he finished speaking, the surrounding colors instantly dimmed, and time came to an abrupt halt. It turned out a mysterious pop-up had appeared, prompting me to choose from the following options. But when I saw those insane options, I instantly felt like dying. Option 1 was, I've captured the heavenly demon's first disciple spy. Option 2 was, if you don't want to lose your life, all irrelevant personnel should leave immediately. The third was clearly a reply to the second senior brother's words. It's me, you stinking fool. Among these crazy options, the third was the worst. But based on past experience, the worst option is often the best solution. This time, I was betting my last life, the one that couldn't be reborn again. I absolutely could not make a single mistake. The moment I confirmed, I couldn't help but shout out that sentence, it's me, you idiot. The moment the words left my mouth, I felt a cold sweat break out on my head. The second disciple who was cursed had actually had the corners of his mouth turn up slightly. His eyes were still scrutinizing me. In that instant, a strong wave of sword energy rushed towards me, followed by a force that could bend. The one attacking me was the heavenly demon's third disciple, a Ling. And the one who blocked his attack was surprisingly the second brother whom I had just cursed. But a Ling seemed to have no intention of backing down. Although I didn't curse him, it seemed he, being present, was also insulted. The second brother glanced at the stiff-faced Kuan Mo, then gave a look to the third brother. Are you going to make a move on our cute fourth junior brother subordinate? As a senior brother, how can I just stand by and watch? Immediately after, he glanced at the first brother, who was sitting by the window without a word. Look at first senior brother. He's so magnanimous. He doesn't care about this guy's insults at all. The third brother and second brother looked at each other. Finally, he slowly retracted the sword into his wrist. This was the divine weapon known as the ZG. Its body was as soft as a snake. Seeing him give up the idea of killing me, I quickly touched my neck. That move just now must have been a Ling's killing blow. Forget the action. I didn't even react the moment he pressed the sword against my neck. Just how strong was the second brother to be able to block that kind of attack? I wondered if I would even have a chance to get out of here alive. After a few seconds of silence, the second brother finally spoke. Fourth junior brother, your subordinate is really interesting. He actually dared to curse me out. Haha. Kuan Mo apologized awkwardly again and again that I'm sorry, second senior brother. I will deal with him personally. As soon as he said this, the second senior brother suddenly became serious. Did you not hear what I said? I told you not to make a move. I saw all of this. Maybe this second brother was a good person. If he hadn't defended me, I'm afraid I would have died several times already. But the text that followed instantly changed my opinion. 3 rewards are given based on the selected option. The first reward, you can learn the personality type of each of the heavenly demon's disciples. The moment this question was answered, a system description of the second brother immediately appeared above his head. Demon Ape is an antisocial personality. He will stop at nothing to achieve his goals. His seemingly kind actions are all meticulously calculated. He can disguise himself well and perfectly hide his true nature. He is a high IQ, scheming genius. This continuous explanation made my scalp tingle. Suddenly, his gaze fixed on me. You probably didn't come here just to curse at people, right? What is your purpose for coming here? His gaze felt familiar. A gaze filled with excitement and pleasure. It was exactly the same as the Supreme Emperor Pavilion Master's. I bit my lip, not knowing what to say, but I couldn't just not answer his question. It seemed I had to pique the second disciple's interest to survive. I immediately dropped to my knees and put down the sack. As per Lord Kuan Mo's instructions, I have captured the spy. Instantly, everyone's gaze turned to Kuan Mo. Kuan Mo's expression also changed subtly. What are you talking about? A spy? I hurriedly opened the sack, revealing the unconscious Ju Yun inside. Kuan Mo seemed startled, unable to make sound. He was a guard sent by the first disciple, Sha Mo, to help Kuan Mo with miscellaneous tasks. Suddenly, my heart trembled as well, because Sha Mo's eyes were looking at me. Then, a pop-up window also displayed Sha Mo's personality type. He would ignore the suffering of others for his own benefit and would stop at nothing to achieve his goals. At the same time, his heart was filled with the desire to eliminate anything he found displeasing. He took pleasure in destroying the hopes of survival for others on the brink of death. Although the cult was full of madmen, he was the only one who took pure pleasure in killing. The second disciple turned back and asked the little junior sister if she wanted to interrogate him, but she refused. The second disciple didn't give up. "Let's give it a try, little junior sister. Didn't he say it's a spy? We might find out who this spy is connected to." The little junior sister, looking displeased, kept her distance from him. "Please don't push troublesome matters onto me." Just then, the little junior sister's personality type also appeared. She has histrionic personality disorder. She has a strong desire for attention and can perfectly manipulate her own emotions and physiological reactions to get what she wants. I couldn't help but wonder if there were any normal people here at all. Kuinimo stepped forward and began to question me. "Why do you think he's a spy?" As soon as he said this, the gazes of the other disciples focused on me again. I could only brace myself and answer. In order to make me fail the 5 passes, he deliberately withheld the spiritual medicine and precious sword that you entrusted to him for me. Instead, I received beatings and death threats from him. Along the way, he also said something. Kuinimo blurted out with a curious look. What did he say? I gave the answer I had prepared before coming here. "You will never pass the 5 passes Tao examination, because even if you're lucky enough to get out, I will silence you." Just like that cowardly 4th disciple, Kuinimo, who hides and survives underground like a rat. Although these were words I made up, seeing the furious look on Kuinmo's face, I must have successfully stirred up trouble between them, because Kuinimo wavered between 2 extreme emotions, including a lack of confidence in other words, borderline personality disorder. And I just hit his sore spot. Kuinmo's hands were trembling. His weakness had been struck precisely. Even regulating his emotions seemed beyond his control. Just then, the second disciple's gaze turned to me again. "You already know who sent him as a spy, don't you?" I couldn't answer this question because I didn't yet have proof that he was a spy sent by Shamo. Suddenly, the system gave out the second reward. Instantly, a secret message from the ghost-eyed demon lord was placed in Ju Yun's robes. After seeing the message that appeared this time, I immediately understood the meaning of the 3 options that had appeared earlier, as well as the +1, +2, +3 symbols. This wasn't just a simple reward, but a system for giving corresponding rewards based on the situation. The ghost-eyed demon lord was the person in charge of the word test in the Martial Dao Pass. He was also the one I met in my previous life after being captured by Ju Yun and taken to a cave. Like Ju Yun, he was one of the first disciples' men. I then confidently extended my hand, indicating that the proof was in Ju Yun's robes. As the system prompted, sure enough, a parchment letter was found in Ju Yun's robes. Kuinimo opened the parchment with a serious expression. The disciple also leaned in curiously. "What does it say?" But Kuinimo readily handed it directly to him. Sha-Imo, who had been observing silently from the side, finally spoke. "What a strange fellow. Whether it's a spy actively exposing his own identity, or him trying to stop an insignificant guy from entering the martial official's Dao. Not to mention he's just a third-rate character. But no matter what, he is a warrior guarding a disciple of the heavenly demon. Yet now he's been defeated by a nobody who is going to take the exam for the martial official's Dao. Isn't that ridiculous?" Suddenly, Shamo looked up at me. The deadly killing intent pressed down on me, making my whole body stiff and unable to move. I was wondering if I could survive this monster. Suddenly, the system's 3rd reward appeared. It raised my stamina and internal energy to 100,000. All other stats were greatly increased. It also included a level 4 demonic arts special techniques chart and a mind-reading skill. For a moment, I was so happy I almost cried out. Power was surging wildly through my body. This feeling of strength was simply incredible. But my happiness didn't even last for 2 seconds. The system pop-up suddenly sent a warning. Sha-Imo has discovered your weakness. How will you respond? In an instant, my face turned pale with fright. Why did he suddenly make a move? Even though I had become much stronger, I was no match for a disciple of the heavenly demon. Most importantly, even with an upgraded mind-reading skill, I still couldn't see his ability stats. I absolutely cannot die like this. Right now, escaping is the only option.